This is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Radio Day. German physicist Heinrich Hertz first identified radio waves in 1886, but Italian inventor Guglielmo Marconi is credited as the inventor of radio. Commercial use began in the 1900s. About 20 years later, it was so popular people were scrambling to buy radios to put in their homes. In 2020, California Senator Kamala Harris accepts the nomination for vice president, becoming the first U.S. woman of color on a major party ticket.
There is no vaccine for racism.
Also on this day in 1619, the first slaves from Africa arrive in the Virginia colony of Jamestown. Several Angolans kidnapped by the Portuguese get off the ship at Port Comfort. Today, it's known as Hampton Road. In 1911, the first around-the-world telegram is sent by the New York Times office via commercial service. Born on this day in 1992, pop singer Demi Lovato. I'm CJ Papa. That's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at mvpcfp.com. That's mvpcfp.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to mvpcfp.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Perhaps you're a collector. Or perhaps, all of a sudden, you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Hey AM 560 listeners, Jeff checking in again from jeffbuysyourhouse.com. What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At jeffbuysyourhouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic Cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609, 800-422-1609, 800-422-1609, or simply visit godra.com.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
It's more than a backyard. It's a place where lazy afternoons turn into lively evenings and simple moments become lifelong memories. Right at the center of it all, your deck. The stage for your best moments in everyday magic. But the outdoors can be tough on wood. Fading colors, weathered boards, and hidden damage creeping in. That's why homeowners across Chicagoland trust Deck Tech. For over 35 years, they've specialized in cleaning, restoring, and protecting decks, keeping them strong, stunning, and ready for every season. Deck Tech now offers 0% financing options for 21 months. Give that special someone the break they deserve with a Deck Tech gift card. Call 800-956-DECK today or visit restoreyourdeck.com. Deck Tech, helping Chicagoland homeowners enjoy the great outdoors for over 35 years. Enjoy your deck all season long with Deck Tech, the clean and seal professionals.
1-800-956-DECK. Call Deck Tech.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Winetock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Winetock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Winetock Market and Lounge, voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Winetock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
Now, your official weather forecast. Today will be humid with clouds giving way to sun, reaching a high of 77. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with a low of 65. Tomorrow looks pleasant with plenty of sunshine and a high of 77. On Friday, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. It's a funny thing that happens when a group feels like they're under constant duress, constant threat, and they don't feel that the local authorities are providing the necessary protection or really have the ability to. Another case study. CBS 2, Chicago has the story.
On this Saturday morning, Gail Pearlstein doesn't observe the Jewish Sabbath in the traditional sense, but she does lead a weekly ritual of a different kind.
It's never been easy being Jewish, but it feels harder and harder.
Locks and Loaded is a shooting club for people of the Jewish heritage and their allies. We are 100% inclusive.
Locks and Loaded. I like it. And by the way, the guy you heard talking about this club, I guess he's joined, had a shirt that read Mazel Tov, which is also a fun little play on words. Locks and Loaded Gun Club. Interesting response to the anti-Semitism, the acts of violence we've seen on college campuses and elsewhere, the assassination of those two young people outside the Israeli Museum in D.C., yeah, that a lot of people in Chicagoland, significant Jewish populations on the North Shore, those are the areas that used to have, back in the day, gun bans. Most of those North Shore communities, starting with Morton Grove, actually, enacting gun bans in the 80s and 90s, supporting gun bans in the wake of horrific events like the Highland Park July 4th parade shooting. Horrific event. Is taking guns out of the hands of law-abiding the appropriate policy response? No, of course not. But when a community feels like they're under threat, what do? Well, all of a sudden, they want to protect themselves. And good for them. That's exactly what they should do. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, and text line. Locks and Loaded. We've talked to Maj Touré, you remember from back in the day, Black Guns Matter, Maj Touré out of Philadelphia. That had some staying power for a while. We haven't touched base with him in some time. I wonder how that's going. Maybe we'll have to check in with him. Pink Pistols. Remember the Pink Pistols group? They had chapters here. This was LGBT oriented, right? For gay people who felt like they needed to provide for their own protection. Whether it is an outsized fear or not, bottom line is, why wouldn't you support somebody taking steps to provide for their own protection? I mean, again, police are a reactive institution. Not everybody is going to become a mixed martial artist, but a gun is a great equalizer, particularly for women. Locks and Loaded. Love it. And they're not the only ones sending up flair around town. Jewish residents I'm talking about. Here's a gentleman who watched what Trump did in Washington, D.C., and unlike BLM Brandon or Jelly Belly, is inviting him to do it here in Chicago.
Hey, Trump,
Trump, you need to bring the National Guards to Chicago, man. You got kids killing kids, man. That's not good, man. Washington, D.C., is not much going on compared to Chicago, man. I'm running. It's a war happening right now in Chicago, man. Hey, look, man. Look, go on the news. Go on the news. Or go on Google, type Chicago. I'm going back home to Africa, man. I can't. Too much going on, man. In Chicago, man.
Going back to Africa, man. Okay. Yeah. Funny thing that happens. And what do they see from their elected leaders? I don't know if you saw this star turn for alderwoman Stephanie Coleman. Stephanie Coleman, who represents Chicagoland, Inglewood, Gage Park, New City, West Inglewood neighborhoods, some of the more violent neighborhoods in Chicago. Well, she is on the runway in New York, so to speak, posting all kinds of glam shots of her attendance to the 40th Annual Stellar Gospel Music Awards. And this is at the same time that there was all this flooding over the weekend, and you had even BLM Brandon was in town and trying to address the flooding in neighborhoods, including many of those that Stephanie Coleman purports to represent. But of course, she's off in New York because she's a big deal. Can't be bothered with the pedestrian problems of the hoi polloi that she purports to represent. How many times do we see this play out? And so people get the message. I'm on my own. Well, yeah, you basically are. And and just on the locks and loaded thing too. I mean, you had this group, Jews for the Preservation of Firearm Ownership, JFPO, that I remember going back to my college days. You know, there are certainly Orthodox Jews that understand this. There are people that are not ideological across the board that understand this and take the necessary steps to provide for their own protection, the protection of their families. And that then there's the disconnect between all of the politicians. And I suppose it's that all you can conclude is that it's a minority position providing for your own protection. And until it becomes a majority position, you're going to continue to see the North Shore and, interestingly, the West Side, the South Side, represented by the exact same kind of politicians. What's the difference between Jan Schakowsky, Brad Schneider, and Stephanie Coleman? Nothing. From a policy perspective, absolutely nothing. Oh, the wealthy North Shore, the high-minded North Shore. But look at their legislators and look at their members of Congress, and then look at the West and South Sides, the council humans, the state legislators, the members of Congress. Tell me what the difference is between the two, other than their names and their melanin content. There's no difference. Clay and Libertyville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning, Dan. I'm 32 years old, and in my entire lifetime, this is where the fight has come out of for gun rights. It's North Shore liberals, and yes, in no way, in shape, or form am I anti-Semitic, but yes, these areas are heavily Jewish areas. So the money, the funding, and everything has come out of these areas against guns. And what? We're just supposed to roll over and say, oh, yay, now they're on our side? Yay, they like guns now because they feel somewhat threatened? This is absolutely ridiculous, and they should absolutely be ashamed of themselves because in 10 years, when this is all over with, they're going to go back to voting to take away the guns and the ammo like they've done. It's been a slow strip of our rights in this state. I'm over it. No, I refuse to accept it. Also, in that news.
Well, but I mean, Clay, I mean, the Locks and Loaded Gun Club, I mean, that's something that you're supportive of. That's a positive step, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
If you want to go and defend yourself, great.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? But no, I'm sorry. It's absolutely silly that these people all of a sudden change of heart real quick when their lives are threatened. It has nothing to do with the Constitution. They would walk all over the Constitution if they could. It's but that's not the point here. Article 2 is the range in Lamont. Great range, great people, and they're very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for the call, Clay. Yeah, that's a good spot. I don't want to cast aspersions categorically, and you always want to provide room for people to come over to your side. So even if some of the members of the Locks and Loaded Gun Club, just like some of the members of Black Guns Matter or some of the members of the Pink Pistols and other groups that have gotten together to, do something collectively so people feel more comfortable learning a skill that they don't otherwise possess. I'm fine with it. I'm sure the Pink Pistols and I aren't going to agree on everything, but we agree on the Pink Pistols' right to defend themselves individually and collectively for that matter. So that's a start. Craig, Mount Greenwood.
Oh, hey, good morning, Dan. Thank you for taking my call. My wife's a good example of change of heart because for years, back when, like in Chicago, living in Mount Greenwood, they had that ban, like you couldn't have you couldn't transport any
handgun ban.
firearms. Yeah, and the handgun ban. But then a couple of years ago, because we never even had it, but we never had any crime here in Mount Greenwood either. Over the past few years, all kinds of things going on. House break-ins, people getting robbed in their driveways and all stuff. My wife says, we got any gun here or something? I says, no. And then so then next thing went, oh yeah, we need to have, I want to have a handgun and everything like that. And then she wanted to get concealed carry too. So all this change and everything like that. So yeah, people can change because my wife is a real good example of someone that went all the way from agreeing with the politicians and no. She knows that the politicians aren't going to take and protect her or anything like that, and we're vulnerable and stuff. But still, the city and the state and everything, their whole thing is making it super difficult, making it expensive and everything else for law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. It's garbage. The way
That's right. That's exactly right. They do make it as difficult as they can under the law, Craig. And, this is the point. It's another example, and hopefully some people are getting hep to it, of a government that is adverse to your interests, starting with your fundamental public safety interests. And it looks like Locks and Loaded got the message. I'm happy to hear it. Coming up at 5:38, we'll update the case that we talked about quite a bit yesterday, that illegal immigrant from India who illegally obtained a CDL license and then killed 3 people on a Florida turnpike. We've got some new information on that matter, and we'll discuss it at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 70 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The White House says that Russian President Vladimir Putin has agreed to begin the next phase of the peace process.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that includes a possible meeting between Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that could lead to a trilateral with President Trump.
So we finally have movement after years of deadly gridlock.
She said Vice President J.D. Vance and other U.S. officials will continue to coordinate with Russia and Ukraine. Trump hosted Zelensky and several European leaders at the White House on Monday to discuss the war. Leavitt also reiterated Trump's assurance that he will not put American troops on the ground in Ukraine. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The Trump administration has a TikTok account. On Tuesday, the White House posted its first video featuring President Trump promising to deliver a better life for the people all across this nation. Trump has extended a deadline for TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to divest or sell the app, pushing it to September 17th. This report is sponsored by Discover. Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next.
Mike Gallagher is seeing an unraveling.
But everywhere you turn, you look around in every direction, Democrats are imploding. In Texas, they've fled the state. In New York, Elizabeth Warren is embracing communism with Mamdani. She's all in. Everywhere you turn, the Democrats are coming apart at the seams.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Are you prepared for the Illinois estate tax? If your estate is worth over $4 million, your heirs could face a tax bill of up to 16% when you pass. Financial advisor Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions can show you ways to potentially reduce or even eliminate that burden. One strategy is to start gifting assets during your lifetime to lower the taxable value of your estate. Another option is setting up irrevocable trusts, which can shield wealth from estate taxes. Charitable donations and life insurance policies can also be smart tools to offset tax liabilities. Planning ahead, though, is key. Without a proper strategy, your family could be left paying more than they need to. Don't wait. Call Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions now to help protect what you've worked so hard for. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. That's 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be humid with clouds giving way to sun, reaching a high of 77. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with a low of 65. Tomorrow looks pleasant with plenty of sunshine and a high of 77. By Friday, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and Virginia New Marxist Party Congresswoman Suhas Subramaniam had this to say, not anything that you haven't heard before, but, you know, just bring somebody else into the fold saying the same thing, part of the New Marxist Party's chorus on this, that your first illegal act is free. No, a lot of U.S. citizens would like the same sort of treatment that people who come to this country illegally get. Your first criminal act is free.
It's different from going up to people without telling them what they've done in masks and putting them in detention facilities. And I think the people that are being approached did not commit any crimes, weren't even suspected of any crimes.
Yeah, that's just not the case with respect to ICE. I mean, there may be one-off cases of mistaken identity, but ICE isn't seeking detainers on people who otherwise have not committed any crimes. So that's just a fiction. But the underlying point is that if you only committed the crime of breaking into this country, even if you were invited, still illegal, then the first crime is free. Because that's all they did. And otherwise, they're productive people who go on to get CDL licenses and kill 3 people on a Florida turnpike. Not everybody. Small percentage concede it all. Doesn't matter to the 3 people who are dead. Because we have states that are not serious about protecting their people. How else do you describe sanctuary cities and sanctuary states? This illegal immigrant from India who entered the country illegally through San Ysidro, California, who was caught by Border Patrol and then bonded out, $5,000 bond from an immigration judge, never to be heard from again until this week. He just entered the country illegally. There's no evidence that he committed any other crimes other than obtaining his CDL licenses illegally. But it's not clear to me that it was his fault or the fault of the state authorities that granted these licenses. So that's it. It was that one free crime that got him in here, and then he's got to figure out a way to survive here. I mean, certainly you have the generous transfer payments in certain states to people in this country illegally from the pockets of people here legally. But maybe he wanted more, so he went to get a job. Can't get a job legitimately, so he went someplace where he could get a CDL license illegitimately. And now 3 people are dead. Can't say it enough. We also found out from Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, who's on the job, Washington State issued a full-term CDL license to this individual in July of 2023, despite the fact he's in the country illegally and has no authorization to work. California issued him a limited-term CDL in June of 2024, and New Mexico police failed to administer to him an English exam, even though the Trump administration is now requiring CDL drivers to pass such tests when he received a speeding ticket on July 3rd of 2025. Multiple opportunities, multiple governments in multiple states, and everybody gives him a pass. Sean Duffy commenting, quote, "The failures here are despicable. Non-enforcement and radical immigration policies have turned the trucking industry into a lawless frontier, resulting in unqualified foreign drivers improperly acquiring licenses to operate 40-ton vehicles. POTUS and I moved quickly to require drivers to speak English, our national language, and launch a full-scale audit of how these licenses are doled out. And all of this is just the tip of the iceberg. We'll have more updates to share soon." Duffy also said that an investigation is being launched into both the driver, who has been charged with vehicular manslaughter, 3 counts, as well as White Hawk Carrier, who he was apparently working for. But it was Washington State, it was New Mexico, it was, of course, California. Gavin Newsom tried to jujitsu the Trump administration on this. Hey, genius, the federal government, Trump administration, already confirmed that the guy meets federal and state immigration requirements. You issued him a work permit. As usual, the Trump administration is either lying or clueless. Well, as usual, it's Gavin Newsom that is both lying and clueless and trying to cover his backside yet again. That drew a response from an Assistant Secretary for Homeland Security, Tricia McLaughlin. False. The individual in question is in the United States illegally. His work authorization was rejected under the Trump administration on September 14th of 2020. It was later approved under the Biden administration on June 3rd of 2020, June 9th of 2021. The state of California issues commercial driver's licenses. There is no national CDL. Sincerely, genius. Nice. Very nice. Yeah, it was the state level failures and, of course, the federal level failure of a work authorization that was rejected under Trump and apparently approved under Biden. So it's a little bit, I mean, to some extent, it's a bit unclear as to whether or not he had work authorization or not in terms of what these state level authorities were looking at. But the bottom line is, whether you have a work authorization or not, if you can't meet the requirements for the licensure, then you shouldn't get the licensure. And oh, by the way, we find that during an English language proficiency assessment administered by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. He provided 2 correct answers out of 12 on a verbal test. He could also only identify one of 4 highway traffic signs. Identify one of 4 highway traffic signs, like maybe no U-turn on an expressway or turnpike. And he answered 2 out of 12 on the verbal test. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line Tom in Roscoe Village.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Morning.
Good. You got to blame the swamp creatures that live in these departments of motor vehicles, Secretary of State's, whatever. They've got ulterior motives. They take money. They're creating their voter base, and they're allowing these people to do this. I spent 20 years as a cop in Mount Prospect, and we used to see it. They'd give the licenses out like candy, and they couldn't drive worth a crap.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Tom. 100%. I mean, we talked about this yesterday in relation to this case. Scott and Janet Willis, 1994. It's been 30 years since that horrific accident that claimed the lives of 6 of the Willis children, because you had a guy in this country illegally who obtained a CDL license through a bribe. And, you know, it really led to the end of the George Ryan administration, and deservedly so. But it didn't lead to the end of the practice. We brought you a story yesterday out of Kentucky where you have a whistleblower who's come forward to allege that the same sort of licenses for bribes for people in this country illegally scam is going on in Kentucky where she works. We've got Louisville news stations on the story now. I know, I'm sure that, you know, ever since the likes of Jesse White and Alexei Giannoulias have taken over as Secretary of State, I'm sure that it's pristine and adheres to the highest ethical standards, you know, with all the idiot nephews of idiot politicians that populate the ranks of the Secretary of State's offices and so many other state and local agencies. I'm sure everything's on the up and up. And when it's not, oh, it's just this, it's just that, it's just selling tickets to a fundraiser, and then you put somebody on the road that kills 6 kids. Does that bring it home? Keep trying to get there. Well, it doesn't to politicians, including, by the way, Barrington's very own Michelle Wu, who happens to be the mayor of Boston now. She had a big rally because Pam Bondi, the attorney general, has sent a message to sanctuary city mayors and sanctuary state governors that funding is on the table if you continue to openly defy federal immigration law. And as Tom Homan has said, and we've seen incidents now, if you interfere with the execution of federal immigration law by federal law enforcement, then you will be subject to arrest, and deservedly so. Here's how Michelle Wu opened up her presser/rally. She had some sort of mariachi band with a woman ululating for minutes on end before Michelle Wu took the podium. This is bizarre.
Everybody, hoo-hoo-ya, hoo-hoo-ya.
This is like a Monty Python skit. I mean, I respect her upper register, but it's just a big show, right? This is adult summer camp for these people. Meanwhile, you have people who are being killed. You have preventable crimes that are being committed against American citizens. But don't tell that to Michelle Wu.
We're here again today because last week, Boston received a letter from the Attorney General of the United States on official letterhead from the federal government threatening to prosecute city officials and withhold federal funds unless we cooperate with carrying out mass deportations. At a time when this federal administration is already causing so much fear and harm in our communities, these threats are serious and consequential. But our same communities have told me loud and clear that silence in the face of oppression is not an option. The U.S. Attorney General asked for a response by today. So here it is. Here is our response. Stop attacking our cities to hide your administration's failures. Unlike the Trump administration, Boston follows the law. And Boston will not back down from who we are and what we stand for. To all the federal officials attacking communities that embody diversity, creativity, and moral clarity, we mayors said this in D.C. nearly 6 months ago, and I'll say it again today. You are wrong on the law, and you are wrong on safety.
You're wrong on the law, and you're wrong on safety, and then all of the other histrionics about oppression and diversity and so forth. You're wrong on the law, and you're wrong on public safety. How is that possible? You're openly flouting the law. You know what the law is, and you're saying we're a sanctuary from federal immigration law. How is that following the law? You're following a law you invented, but on immigration, the federal government has supremacy. You're familiar with the supremacy clause in the Constitution. Yes, Michelle Wu. I heard you were a valedictorian at Barrington High School. I'm super impressed. Harvard degree. I'm sure you're well-versed in the Constitution. You understand the supremacy clause, right? These sanctuary policies, we are declaring ourselves a sanctuary from federal law. That is invented. That is the opposite of the rule of law. And in public safety, what? You have people, if no immigrants were here illegally, we would see a reduction in crime because there are crimes being committed by a small percentage of people here illegally that otherwise wouldn't have occurred. So how do you, I mean, I know they just make claims and it doesn't matter if those claims are 180 degrees opposite the facts, but I mean, really, it still does somewhat, I don't know if it surprises me, but it's certainly it's just exasperating. How is this not obvious? You can argue whether or not you support the law being consistent with sanctuary city ordinances and sanctuary state statutes. You can make that argument, but you can't make the argument that it is compliant with federal law. By definition, you're not following the law. By definition, public safety would be enhanced if people who are here now illegally were not here. Who are here illegally, and some percentage of them committing crimes if they were not here. That is just axiomatic, for goodness sakes. I don't know if it's just preternatural dishonesty or low cognitive ability or some combination of the two. I don't think it's low cognitive ability with Wu. I think she's just preternaturally dishonest. She is a radical Marxist ideologue. And there's a lot of that, too. Well, so is BLM Brandon, but then there's a cognitive ability question with him. Eduardo in Tampa Bay, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, Dan, well, speaking of safety, I saw this on Daily Mail. 100 young people on dirt bikes on the Boston freeway. And she says they're having fun. They're learning a skill. Apparently, they don't have trees. trade schools in Boston.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Thanks, Eduardo. Brianna in Plainfield.
Hi, it's Brenna.
Brenna, sorry.
I'm a retired state trooper, and with the defunding the police movement that's happened, the state police in Illinois were the only designated agency to enforce motor carrier safety laws. And now that the ranks have fallen so much, they're not being enforced in Illinois. Basically, our duties were to crawl under semis to make sure they were mechanically sound, as well as to make sure the driver was qualified to operate the motor vehicle. If any of there were things that made you put the driver out of service, meaning that he would end up being parked until they got a qualified driver out there. One of the things was not being able to speak English. So we can chalk it up to the anti-law enforcement establishment now.
Thanks for the call, Brenna. Appreciate that. Good perspective. Somebody who lived it. Public safety. On the side of public safety, you say. By the way, text from the Amish texter. Was that Michelle Wu, Screamfest, a no whites allowed after... was that the Michelle Wu Screamfest and no whites allowed affair, just like her Christmas parties? No, I think I don't know if honkies were allowed at the press conference or not. Great question. Yeah, she's a radical Marxist, so that necessarily implicates her commitment to identitarianism. But on the public safety matter, they're on the side of public safety. Well, I'll tell you what, there's some residents of Aurora, Colorado, just a few apartment buildings. I know, Martha Raddatz. There's some residents of Aurora, Colorado, just for example, not to mention a grieving family in Florida, that may disagree with you, Michelle.
TDA gang investigation that focused on the Denver metro area has so far led to 30 people being charged with what investigators are calling brutal crimes.
It all started at an apartment complex, an Arapahoe County apartment complex, with the sheriff's department noticing a concerning spike in crime there. Fox 31's Vicente Arenas joining us now live tonight with the latest details here. Vicente.
Christine, they gave us a lot of details about this investigation, and they even used the word barbaric when they were talking about the different types of crimes that were committed. In some cases, they said that some of the suspects offered to bring back severed heads in exchange for money. The Ivy Crossing Apartments in Arapahoe County on South Quebec Street and East Harvard Place quickly became the focus of a massive investigation after crime spiked there in October of last year. After an investigation by the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, APD, Denver's ATF and DEA, and Homeland Security investigations, 30 people now face charges.
The charges include firearms trafficking, drug trafficking, and a barbaric murder-for-hire plot in which several of the defendants agreed to kill 2 people for $15,000 and return their severed heads as proof of the murders for just an extra $5,000.
You know, I'm sorry, this may sound hyperbolic, but it really isn't. If you adopt the position of Michelle Wu, then you stand with the head choppers of Tren de Aragua. And you can claim all you want that you're following the law and you're on the side of public safety. Neither of those things is anywhere in the vicinity of the truth.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic Cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Why don't we do one of those one-day bathroom remodels?
Well, because I don't want a generic bathroom that looks like it belongs at a campsite.
Fair. I'd love something that fits us. A bigger shower, safety grab bars, better lighting, heated floors.
Let's go with Forever Remodeling. There's no templates. Every design is unique and exactly what we want.
At Forever Remodeling, no two bathrooms are ever the same. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:06, apparently Conant High School in Hoffman Estates didn't get the DOJ memo, or doesn't care, much like the sanctuary city and state politicians. Got a lot of that. We just ignore the laws we don't like. A lot of that coming from the left. It is now 6 a.m., AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Amid a push to end one war, another might escalate. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Israel's ramping up its fight against Hamas in Gaza, while military leaders in the NATO alliance meet today to consider a security guarantee for Ukraine that could be part of any peace agreement with Russia. Special U.S. Envoy Keith Kellogg tells Fox Business.
We are very close, I believe, to getting to this thing finished and done.
But there is no formal commitment out of Russia that leader Vladimir Putin would hold one-on-one talks with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, like President Trump's been pushing for. Back to the war in Gaza, 3 Israeli soldiers have been wounded as Israel's defense minister approves a plan to call up 60,000 reserve soldiers to ramp up the fight.
An official says forces will be taking on Hamas in parts of Gaza City that hadn't been targeted by ground troops during the first 22 months of the war. The plans have been approved by the country's generals, but it's not yet clear when the operation will begin. The families of some hostages fear the new assault could put the lives of the remaining captives at even greater risk.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Hurricane Aaron keeps moving north, and while it's moving out to sea, Fox meteorologist Janice Dean says Aaron's still affecting the East Coast.
High surf, rip currents, beach erosion, and tropical storm force winds along the coast of North Carolina.
And that has led to this.
In North Carolina at Wrightsville Beach, they had over 60 water rescues because of the rough surf.
Fox Weather Steve Bender is south of there in St. Augustine, Florida.
Overall, they are prepared for any type of coastal impact, but the concern is the repetitive waves keep taking more and more sand away from the beach.
Beaches are being closed for swimming up the East Coast because of the waves and rip currents. Florida has killed a killer, carrying out its 10th execution this year, a record in the state. Cale Bates was condemned for abducting and murdering a woman in 1982. His last word was no. When asked if he had any last words, then he was lethally injected. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. 2 bipartisan former Obama administration officials are pushing for fairer maps in Illinois state legislative districts. Former U.S. Commerce Secretary Bill Daley says it's time for a change.
This gets on the ballot. The people of Illinois, for the first time in a very long time, have a chance to send a statement to the political system, both sides, that we want this thing to be different.
Daley and ex-Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood are leading an effort to establish a ballot initiative in 2026 to reform the redistricting process for state legislative map making. The proposed constitutional amendment would establish a citizen-led committee to redraw the maps after the 2030 census. The latest attempt to make legislative maps fair in Illinois follows the departure of the Texas Democrats, who spent 2 weeks in suburban Chicago to avoid a vote in their state on so-called GOP-backed redrawing of congressional district boundaries. Hundreds of workers at a Chicago Target warehouse are out of a job over allegations that they were involved in a scheme to defraud an employee medical benefits program. Block Club Chicago reports employees at Target's distribution center on South Pulaski Road took advantage of a glitch in the company's medical loan program. The glitch allowed employees to take out loans for $3,000 and pay back just $50 to have the balance erased. Target confirms the firings at the Little Village facility, saying that they were terminated for violating the company's code of ethics. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Join John Anthony, host of Black and White, for a cruise on Lake Michigan, Saturday, September 6th. Come aboard the luxury yacht Free Spirit for a fun afternoon with fellow AM 560 listeners. Enjoy great food and beverages and be a part of the live broadcast of Black and White with John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cruise. That's 560theanswer.com/cruise. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Terry's Tiny Homes, Terry! Sure, as the only employee of her company, Terry was probably the front runner, but saving money getting personalized discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive, well, that gave Terry the edge. Over Terry. Terry! Terry! Keep awkwardly chanting your own name, Terry. You deserve it. Woo! Be your own Terry. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
U.S. Air Force Technical Sergeant Jesse Clark's military service came to an end after a chemical exposure caused a large tumor to form in his brain. As a result, he is paralyzed on the left side of his body, legally blind, prone to memory loss, and in a wheelchair. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation built this hero a new smart home to help him live a more independent life. Help heroes like Jesse Clark. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneInc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal locally.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens, inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes, outbound 14 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 8 minutes, outbound 10 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes, outbound is 16 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 18 minutes. It's going to be about 22 minutes outbound. On the Dan Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 14 minutes. Outbound is 10 minutes. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Bring your gold or silver in store today. Each item is priced right in front of you. The coins never leave your sight. Receive cash or a check right on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be humid with clouds giving way to sun, reaching a high of 77. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with a low of 65. Tomorrow looks pleasant with plenty of sunshine and a high of 77. On Friday, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get The latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, as I've been saying for months. Well, ever since Trump was inaugurated a second time. The battles are now joined, thanks to Trump's victory, but they're still battles. Sanctuary city and state policies. 8 months in, and we're still talking about how to change the incentive structure for sanctuary cities and states that are openly hostile to federal law enforcement. The enforcement of federal laws, as well as the human beings charged with doing it, and how indifferent they are to the public safety for the communities they purport to represent. Well, the same goes for the schools. How indifferent they are to the Department of Justice's edict on Title IX violations, on men playing girls' sports, boys playing girls' sports, boys using girls' spaces like locker rooms and bathrooms. They're just indifferent. And they'll tell you that they're on the side of the law and public safety and diversity and so forth. It's literally the same position applied to K through 12 education, where they want to eliminate the distinctions that the biological sexes manifest. Which takes us to District 211 again. Those Tony suburbs. Schaumburg, Elk Grove Village, Roselle, Hoffman Estates. District 211. This time it's Conant High School. An incoming freshman boy with no volleyball experience made the freshman girls team, beating out 45 girls. As Lori Higgins writes over at Jeannie Ives' website, Breakthrough Ideas. The fact that he is reportedly 6'4" may have a wee bit to do with his wild success. That couldn't hurt. And then there's the district's likely fear that his parents will sue if the district sue the district if their short shorts, crop top wearing willowy son doesn't get exactly what he wants. And what does he want? Just like we had with Palatine High School back in the day. No. I don't want an accommodation. I don't want a separate space. It's the same old story. Anything short of recognizing me, in this case, as a girl, though I'm a biological boy, is unacceptable. It's a very simple proposition. You either believe a boy pretending to be a girl is a girl, just like a biological girl, or you don't. And the mission here is to force you to either believe it or begrudgingly accept it in silence. And now it's come to Conant High School. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. By the way, District 211 has a board meeting tonight at 6 p.m. at the Administration Center on Roselle Road in Palatine if anybody wants to, show up and offer some support for girls and girls sports. Revolutionary concept, I know. Really risky position to stake out. You don't want to be called a transphobe. And, of course, the volleyball story calls to mind Peyton McNabb. It's not just this big lie that you're going to be forced to participate in by administrators and the other frightened educrats in these corrupted government school systems. It's also you actually are like physically, potentially putting young girls in harm's way. Freshman, 6'4". Do you remember the story of Peyton McNabb? Peyton McNabb, the North Carolina volleyball player?
December 1st, 2022, I was severely injured in a high school volleyball game by a transgender athlete on the opposing team. I suffered from a concussion and neck injury that to this day I'm still recovering from. Other injuries I still suffer from today include impaired vision, partial paralysis on my right side, constant headaches, as well as anxiety and depression. I was unable to play the rest of my last volleyball season, and although I am currently playing softball, I am not able to perform as well as I know I have in the past because of the injury. My ability to learn, retain, comprehend has also been impaired, and I require accommodations at school for testing because of this. I could go on and on about how this incident has affected my life, but I'm not here for that, because I'm not here for me. Because for me, I know that my time playing is coming to an end. I'm here for every biological female athlete behind me. My little sister, my cousins, my teammates. Allowing biological males to compete against biological females is dangerous. I may be the first to come before you with an injury, but if this doesn't pass, I won't be the last. The North Carolina High School Athletic Association policy states that it allows participation in interscholastic athletics for all students, regardless of gender or gender identification. It is the intent that all students are able to compete on a level playing field in a safe, competitive, and friendly environment, free of discrimination. Clearly, that does not include biological female athletes. My ability to compete was taken from me. Having to play against biological males is not a level playing field and is most
So I know there was an effort made by some parents in District 211 to run sensible school board candidates, and that failed because the teachers' unions has superior resources, because the populace is largely dead from the neck up. So anybody going to show up for the girls of Conant High School tonight? Any dads out there? I mean, dads that, don't sashay around with pea hats on, like real men in 211. You had enough yet? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Jim in Crown Point.
Let me say this before I say what I want to say. When you're not there, I don't listen. You are the bar that every other talk show should be measured by. Your common sense is why I listen. Now, let me just say that when my wife or my daughters or my granddaughters go into a bathroom when we're out, I stand in front of the door and I don't let anybody in, and I tell them that they feel threatened if anybody comes in. So I protect my own. And the federal government should come in and have a fund for any school that gets sued by these weirdos. And the school boards are weak. They've always been weak, and somebody has to step up.
Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate it. Yeah, the we're afraid to be sued is incredibly weak, T. It's not compelling at all. You're afraid to be sued, but you're not afraid to be threatened with the removal of millions of dollars in federal funding by the Trump administration, because that's what Harmeet Dillon's Office of Civil Rights is going to do. That's what she's going to pursue. She's doing it in Virginia right now, which we'll get to in a moment. So you're afraid of losing money. You're such responsible guardians of the taxpayers' dollars. Afraid of losing it on the one end through litigation, but not on the other end through a federal government that penalizes you for Title IX violations. Yeah, not compelling, not persuasive. That's not what's happening. So, who's going to step up? It's interesting. This Lori Higgins piece mentions that there's a volleyball coach named Druanne Riebel who, I guess, recently resigned from coaching the girls' team after a decade of coaching there. I wonder if her resignation had anything to do with the administration's policy with respect to boys playing girls' sports. I don't know. I'm wondering. Maybe some parents in District 211 could find out. Maybe they should be inquisitive enough to find out. Maybe people who know better have to step forward in these moments. No, that's actually not a maybe. Bill in Cape Coral, Florida.
Hey, good morning. The girls on the team, they should rally together too. Like, how when they make a score or a point or save, they all get together and give each other congratulations 5. Well, when they do that, they should shun away from him. Turn their backs to him. Don't make the huddle real tight so he can't get in there. And the audience, when that weirdo gets up to serve, the whole audience should be booing and making remarks to let everyone know that they're not appreciative of this. This is wrong 100%. The girls on the team, though, should shun them openly so everyone could see that they don't agree with it. I mean, I'm not blaming them, but they let everyone know that it's not right. It's terrible. But
thanks for the call, Bill. Well, here's what I would say about that. I don't think that you go to a game and you boo this boy playing on the girls' team. And I don't think you encourage your daughters to shun him either. I think you go the other way. I think you understand that this boy is confused. He's a freshman, so he's, 14 years old. This boy is confused. Who knows what sort of social contagions have invaded his gray matter? Who knows what his parents have done to him, frankly? And I don't know. I don't know if this is parents rah-rahing or they're just trying to be accommodating. Whatever it is, it's a problem. But I would go the other way. This is an adult matter. And, you don't want to high school girls, nobody wants to be mean. Nobody wants to be perceived as mean. Nobody wants to get into these fights. This is an adult matter for adults to set policy. So there's no need to be mean to the boy who's pretending to be a girl. And there's no need to, activate the girls to be mean to him or go to the games and just boo from the stands. That's sort of cowardly. Go to the school board meeting and talk to the school board members. Go tell the superintendent and his 42 assistant superintendents at District 211 what time it is. Organize the other parents to say that this is not going to stand. This is adults handling the matter, not work shifting it to the kids and just, taking pot shots from the stands. No, I don't think so. I'd like to see a little adult leadership in these moments, wouldn't you? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Because here's where it goes next. If you don't take you don't see adults step in and behave like adults. Here's where it goes next. Oh, I just keep my head down, tell my boy, girl, whatever, keep their head down, don't get involved in this, and okay. And then this is going to happen. What happened to the sons of Seth Wolf and Renee Smith in Loudoun County Public Schools? Because if you think these suburban government schools are any more sane than the elite leftist schools in Northern Virginia, you're wrong. I mean, case in point, what we're talking about. Seth Wolf and Renee Smith, what happened to their kids when there was a girl pretending to be a boy in their locker room?
Seth Wolf and Renee Smith say their sons weren't comfortable with a biologically female student who identifies as male using the boys' locker room at Stonebridge High School. In this video, first obtained by 7 News, the boys can be heard asking why there was a girl in the boys' locker room. The video was recorded by the female student, who then complained to administrators about their behavior. On Friday evening, Seth and Renee say their boys were notified by Loudoun County Public Schools that LCPS's Title IX office found them responsible for sexual harassment and sex-based discrimination.
I would say like the first reaction was like some anger because we were just really, concerned with all this stuff. There was that. I was saddened by the decision-making process and how that went.
Seth's son faces a 10-day suspension and additional discipline to be handed out by school officials after a meeting with him. Renee and her family moved out of state this summer, but if her son were to ever return to the district, says LCPS, he would be suspended then.
Absolutely floored that they came back and branded my son responsible for sexual harassment and sex-based discrimination with no solid evidence whatsoever. We're talking about, scarring him for life by a biased process that's supposed to protect fairness. It's shocking, it's wrong, and it should terrify every single parent.
Renee's concern is this will follow him because it's on his permanent academic record and could impact his college applications. LCPS's policy allows students to use bathrooms and locker rooms based on their chosen gender identity. Seth and Renee believe LCPS is sending a message that any student who expresses views that disagree with so-called Policy 8040 will be punished.
They're going to have to follow what Loudoun County says, what they believe is right, and what goes against other people's beliefs or what we believe is right.
So Loudoun County is one of the schools there, one of 5 school districts in Virginia that is, under threat by the federal government of removal of funds for this kind of behavior, this kind of activity. Fairfax, Loudoun, Prince William, Arlington, and one other that escapes me at the moment. Not terribly important. And the attitude of the school superintendents is parallel to the attitude you hear from Michelle Wu on sanctuary city policies or Brandon Johnson. Michelle Reed, the Fairfax County Government School Superintendent.
I did send a message home to families on Friday, and we're going to continue to be the school division that welcomes and includes all students, regardless of what the Office of Civil Rights has recently suggested. And we do expect some type of response at some point later this week. But until then, we're excited about welcoming our students back to school.
Mm-hmm. They didn't suggest, the Office of Civil Rights didn't suggest. They said, you are in violation of Title IX. Here are the potential consequences if you remain in violation. That's what they said in the direction of these 5 school districts. They don't care. So it's up to Harmeet Dillon and her lawyers to intercede here, where the parents haven't. But understand, don't forget the underlying event here. So when this high school volleyball player, this boy pretending to be a girl, goes in the girls' locker room after practice, after the game, and some girl says, "What are you doing in the girls' locker room?" Bang! He'll go complain. You can then have your girl, your daughter at Conan, subjected to a Star Chamber proceeding where she gets branded by the local school district as a sexual harasser and a sex discriminator. You think you can just lay back and this won't be visited upon you? Kathy in Downers Grove.
Yeah, hi, Dan. I just wanted to say that I agree with you. I don't think the volleyball team should shun this boy. It should have never gotten to this point. The adults need to speak up, and they need to talk about what's right and what's right for their children. The fact of the matter, they chose this boy, and it's a boy, is because you can't teach height. Once he develops his volleyball skills, he's going to hurt somebody. And then you're right. In the locker room, what happens then? Should never got to this.
Thanks for the call, Kathy. Right. I don't want kids being more mean to kids than they already are inclined to be as they mature. I'd like to see some maturation from the adults. I mean, why are people afraid of superintendents and school board members? Oh, I don't want it to adversely, to negatively impact, to adversely impact my kid, and I want the teachers to target him. Are you serious? There's some maturation that needs to occur with a lot of the adults in these stories, it seems to me, and in these districts. Bill, Northwest Side.
You know, Dan, at the end of the day, it's my job to protect my daughter. And I'm going to tell her coach that if there's a biological male on that other team, she is to sit. She's not going to be in that. She's not going to play in that game because I'm not going to risk her getting hurt. Plain and simple. And I'm not going to depend on the coach or the district or anyone else to protect her. That's my job.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Chris in Lowell, Indiana.
Hi, Dan. I just wanted to remark, sitting here listening to this young female athlete, and I think one of the most insidious tools in the left's indoctrination arsenal is corralling thought through language. I just noticed she was very careful, almost afraid, and very careful to use a modifier, biological, whenever she says male or female. So even people on the right seem afraid to speak freely and simply say bluntly male and female. There's no need for the modifier.
Thanks for the call, Chris. George in Naperville.
Yeah, maybe this all started with Biden when he threatened or did use the FBI at these school board meetings. Maybe these parents are afraid of losing their jobs and their livelihood. They put a scare tactic on everybody, and it's probably still in their minds.
Well, maybe, but the environment in D.C. has changed, and people should take judicial notice of that. Harmeet Dillon, heading up the Office of Civil Rights at the Department of Justice, is an ally in this fight. So you have allies. First of all, that's not much of an excuse previously, as far as I'm concerned. But now the excuse has been all but eliminated. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, these school boards are dug in on doing things that are stupid, and they're teaching kids how to break the law. So if Donald Trump could take a bullet to the ear, these parents can go into a school board and stand up and fight for their kids.
Thanks for the call, Glenn. Well, I guess we'll see what happens at the big school board meeting tonight for District 211.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
A couple years ago, I was in the bathroom at the airport when I dropped my smartphone in the toilet. Not smart. I was multitasking when I should have been focused on the job at hand. Embarrassing, but I'm not alone. According to Google, 7 million other multitaskers accidentally dropped their phones into the bowl last year. A gentle reminder that right now you can get yourself a brand new Samsung Galaxy A36 absolutely free with a $35 plan from Pure Talk. The A36 comes with scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass and a battery that'll last all day, along with unlimited talk, text, and data on America's most dependable 5G network. In other words, it's tough and smart. Something to think about next time you're multitasking in the necessary. Just dial pound 250, say keyword Mike Rowe to get your free phone today. You can make the switch in just 10 minutes. That's pound 250. Say Mike Rowe to switch to a no-nonsense smartphone and a company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:36, we're going to talk to Tyler Gray. He is a veteran who is now leading advocate for veterans' mental health. He's got a story, and he's memorialized in a book called Forged in Chaos. We'll discuss 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Nearly a third of businesses are likely to increase prices in the near future.
A new report by LendingTree found that more than 30% of businesses surveyed said they expect their prices will be higher in 6 months than they are now, while only 5% said that their prices will go down and 65% said their prices will remain steady. LendingTree's report also found that businesses in Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Montana, Washington, Oregon, and Vermont were most likely to say they expect to increase prices in the coming months. Survey results come during a period of uncertainty over President Trump's tariff rollout and continued pressure from inflation. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The White House is touting hundreds of arrests made during President Trump's crime crackdown in Washington, D.C.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt highlighted what's been done so far.
President Trump's efforts to make D.C. safe again are working. There have been a total of 465 arrests since the start of this operation on Thursday, August 7th.
Several Republican-led states have sent hundreds of National Guard troops to D.C. to assist. I'm Brian Shook.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
The biggest AM 560 event of the year is coming to Goldberg's Farm in Pingree Grove on Friday, August 22nd. It's Sean Fest 2025. Join hundreds of fellow AM 560 listeners for the summer's best party. Be a part of the on-location broadcast with Sean Thompson, followed by live music, photo opportunities, food and dessert trucks, and it's all free. Registration is requested at 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. Sponsored in part by Fox Valley Coins and by myvirago.com.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just 1 light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family owned, integrity since 1981.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens, inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes, outbound 14 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 8 minutes, outbound 10 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes, outbound is 16 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 18 minutes. It's going to be about 22 minutes outbound. On the Dan Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 14 minutes. Outbound is 10 minutes. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Need better sleep? On Labor Day weekend, upgrade to premium sleep at Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Let their sleep experts match you with the perfect bed and get the rest you deserve. They make sleep easy. Shop Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now checking your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be humid with clouds giving way to sun, reaching a high of 77. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with a low of 65. Tomorrow looks pleasant with plenty of sunshine and a high of 77. By Friday, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. You know, perhaps it's stories like the story of Tyler Gray that lead President Trump and others that are America First oriented to be very judicious with committing American troops to theaters of war because of the physical and mental impact that war has on American men and women. I mean, this is much more well documented over the last, say, 20 or 25 years, a greater understanding of PTSD and all the ravages of war that are inflicted upon men and women in the service than it was, you know, going back to the first half of the last century, where, you know, just like sort of similar, not in terms of scale, but in terms of attitude to football, where you got a concussion and you just had your bell rung, sort of the same thing. It was just a little shell shock when you were injured in war. The head injuries, the head trauma, the mental illness challenges, the suicidal ideation. Well, Tyler Gray is a former Delta Force operator, so this was a serious soldier. He's now a leading advocate for veterans' mental health, and he's had, according to what I've read of his book, quite the circuitous path to this place, including finding some success in Hollywood. We'll talk about it all with him. His book is entitled Forged in Chaos, a Warrior's Origin Story. Forged in Chaos, a Warrior's Origin Story. Tyler Gray, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, you know, the story starts, at least an excerpt, one of the excerpts I've read over at realcleardefense.com, with you being sent home after nearly having your arm severed in an explosion on a mission in Baghdad. So maybe we pick it up there.
Yeah. It was, you know, a very serious injury. It was, I mean, the arm, 9.9 times out of 10, they would have not even attempted to save it. They just, later I was told they'd done so many extremity surgeries because of so many IEDs around that time that they attempted to save it where, you know, even 6 months prior they wouldn't have. So I was very lucky on that end. But yes, it led to me, you know, getting medically retired outside the military. And that started, you know, almost 4-year long recovery that obviously was, both physical and mental.
And the the part of it, of course, dealing with a 4-year recovery, as you mentioned, a catastrophic injury that you just described. So you're on pain meds, and part of the story is basically an OxyContin legalized heroin story and a story of addiction.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention on that, which I just think is really something worth mentioning, is that when I had, 10 minutes, at any time prior to being wounded, I had never done a drug in my entire life. I had never, literally, no drug of any kind. I had never even smoked marijuana one time. So when I got wounded and then was given, originally morphine and then Demerol, but I had no context. I didn't know what pain medications were. And I'm sure that sounds, naive to people, but, when you're in the military, you're kind of in, a vacuum chamber where you don't really know what's going on outside it. And I just had absolutely no one said, hey, man, that stuff is basically heroin. It wasn't a conversation that anyone had with me. So I actually had zero awareness of just how dangerous and potentially addictive the way I looked at it was medication. And I never honestly even had a single thought about potential danger because no one had told me that.
Well, what year was this when you got injured?
This is 2005.
Yeah, so I mean, this is well before, everything broke apart with Purdue Pharmaceutical and OxyContin. Yeah. So this is you're sort of at the more or less the first quarter of the story, at least when it came to Oxy and some of these narcotics.
Correct, and I was actually given Oxy when I eventually got out of the hospital. I was given quite a bit of OxyContin, but as you just said, OxyContin back then wasn't Oxy. It wasn't talked about. It wasn't. I had zero awareness of what that meant or how serious of a drug that was, and so it took me some time to really understand what it really was and what the dangers were.
And so how did this proceed in terms of you recovering from these injuries and then also trying to wean yourself off of those serious drugs?
Well, the first part of it, I documented this story in the book, which was, again, no one told me. So I didn't know I needed to wean myself off. I was taking 120 milligrams of OxyContin a day. A 60 in the morning and a 60 milligram time release at night, which is a lot. And I just was like, I don't want to take something every day. And I forget how long I had been out of the hospital, but I literally threw all the drugs, and it was quite a bit of drugs, different medications. I threw them all in the trash. And I ended up in the hospital, and that was when I had a wake-up call and just understood the power of that medication. What it taught me was it didn't matter what my mental idea of things were. The fact is that I was physically addicted, whether I mentally liked it or not.
And so
it subverted my willpower because you know what I mean? It wasn't a choice. My body was addicted regardless of what my mind thought about it.
And so how did you, once you came to that realization, how did you unwind from it?
I didn't really come off them for quite some time because what happened was, as I said, it was a 4-year process. And so I would be, I'd get a surgery. I would be put on pain meds. I'd do, 3 months of rehabilitation, vocational, occupational rehab, and then, maybe spend another couple months healing off the medications, but then I would go right back to another, I had dozens and dozens of surgeries. So then I would go right back into that same cycle. And this went on for years. So it wasn't until the end of all those surgeries that I really, could start really trying to get off. And it was at that point, I wasn't taking them for physical pain. I was taking them for, quite frankly, depression, which is not, what you should be doing, but that's what I was doing because I was just mentally miserable at that point.
And by that point, I mean, as you're talking about years and multiple surgeries, and more and more is coming out about these drugs, were you starting to get at least better advice and counsel, including from medical professionals? Like, look, this is going to be a temporary thing to get over the pain, to recover from the surgery, but then we have to wean you off. Or or did you feel like you were on your own trying to figure this out?
100% felt like I was on my own. I was not. In hindsight, most doctors and medical professionals, I think, try and do their best. But in hindsight, there was so many things that, if you're a doctor and you went to medical school, I don't think they realize how they've forgotten more than I or, your average person knows. So it's very difficult, I think, for them to understand what we need to know because they know it so well. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Although, I mean, you would think enough case studies and you see the same sort of behavior and people, crossing the line and into addiction, you would think that they would guard against that and be sort of proactive in that direction.
Yeah, my personal, I don't know this for a fact, but I would assume now it's way more, known. But back then, the heightened fear of opioids just wasn't there back then. So you know what I mean? It was just a different time. I think now you'd be right, but back then it just wasn't as the seriousness of the problem just wasn't recognized.
Something else you talk about in your book that I hadn't heard before. I mean, everybody is pretty familiar with PTSD, as I mentioned at the outset, post-traumatic stress disorder. But you write about another problem, LTSD. What is LTSD?
So LTSD, first of all, I made it up, which is why you haven't heard it.
Right. Yes. Right.
But LTSD stands for lack of traumatic stress disorder, and what it essentially means is when I was going to mental health professionals, everyone said you got PTSD over and over again, and I was like, "What's that?" And they told me. Obviously, I knew to a degree, but it just didn't fit how I felt, and so I finally got to the point where I kind of walked out and just said, "Look, I'm going to figure out something that fits how I feel, not try and fit how I feel into what you think it is." And so LTSD stands for lack of traumatic stress disorder. And what I realized over time, and I detail where there was an event that kind of was a aha moment that made me come up with the concept. But first of all, PTSD is an event-based diagnosis. It can only be diagnosed post an event, and it must only be diagnosed 30 days post said event. And for me, it just didn't fit. The first word of PTSD is post. And what post-traumatic stress disorder assumes is a pre-traumatic stress baseline. And it became very clear to me based on several, different aha moments that the way I grew up, I never had a pre-traumatic stress baseline. I grew up in a constant environment, not event, but an environment where traumatic stress was daily. It never went away. And so I never knew safety. I never knew calm. And so when your environment is chaotic and it's consistent, humans adapt to survive. And so our brain neurologically rewires itself. If your environment is constantly chaos, then your brain over time will neurologically rewire itself to be calm in chaos. So when the environment is chaotic, that becomes your homeostasis. You're normal, and therefore you're calm. Conversely, when the environment is calm, the chaos is in your head. And the way you calm yourself again is by creating chaos back into the environment, taking you back to your homeostasis. That is essentially the concept of LTSD.
And how did that manifest itself with you, generally speaking?
There are so many ways to create chaos. I'm actually going to do a list soon and put it on my website. But addiction, obviously, it was, and when I say addiction, I don't mean alcohol, drugs. I mean any and every type of addiction is a means to create chaos. But so are addictions that we don't really call addictions. And one of them that I'm calling, which is kind of part of the book, is chaos addiction. You know, buying a motorcycle and, you know, riding it at night when everything's calm, 120 miles an hour, that was, you know, that's creating chaos. Getting in fights with your significant other, choosing a partner who's quite frankly not good for you and is a toxic relationship, that's creating chaos. Any and everything. The problem with creating chaos is for a lot of people, for myself specifically, it seems like it's self-destructive. And I'm not saying it isn't. It is. But the self-destruction is really a side effect. And so you are like, oh my gosh, I'm so self-destructive, when in reality, it is self-destructive, but that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it because it's creating chaos.
And that's your, as you said, that's your baseline is chaos. So you're going back to sort of where your comfort is.
Going back to where your comfort is a great way to describe it.
So then how did you, sort of work your way through this understanding of the nature of your problem and then find more productive outlets like I guess consulting on Hollywood movies?
I mean, it took me, I say this all the time in interviews. It's so easy. I'm sure people hear me talk about certain things now and they're like, oh, that makes sense. It's so easy. And I want to be very clear. I mean, I'm saying everything in massive hindsight, right? While I was in it, for decades, I didn't know what I didn't know. So while now it may sound easy to put it all together, while I was in it, I was clueless. And it took years and years and years for me. Like I said, it was a series of different revelations. It wasn't just one. And so now, looking back, I can kind of lay it out pretty definitively, but it took me quite a while to put it all together. And I'm still putting things together, and no doubt about it, and refining and getting better. But for me, I really wanted to search for answers, and part of the way I wanted to search for answers was through storytelling, because I feel like storytelling, I mean, in all of human history, has the power. We humans learn through storytelling. That's why it exists. We learn about others and we learn about ourselves. And so I really wanted to become a storyteller, to try and put my story out there and try and help and inspire others.
Well, his story is entitled Forged in Chaos, A Warrior's Origin Story. He's Tyler Gray, former Delta Force operator, now a leading advocate for veterans' mental health. And again, the book, Forged in Chaos, A Warrior's Origin Story. Tyler Gray, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you for your service to our country, and best of luck with the book.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. And Tyler Gray joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When it comes to industrial coating and finishing, cutting corners isn't an option. That's why leading manufacturers across the Midwest trust D&D Industrial Coatings in Racine, Wisconsin. From powder coating and liquid painting to blasting and custom finishing, D&D Industrial delivers top-tier protection and performance, fast, precise, and built to last. With over 40 years of experience, ISO-certified processes, and state-of-the-art lines, D&D handles everything from OEMs and petrochemical to agriculture, marine, construction, medical, and government specs. Family-owned, nationally trusted. Whether it's a short run or high volume, your parts are in expert hands, finished on time and finished right. Visit them today, ddindustrial.net. Again, that's ddindustrial.net. Or call them at 262-637-0686 to get your custom quote today. Again, that's 262-637-0686. D&D Industrial Coatings. Engineered to protect. Finished to impress.
Too often, cremated remains are kept at home, then forgotten. At Queen of Heaven Cemetery in Hillside, we have your cremation options. Come visit our new cremation garden, see our beautiful granite columbariums, or view our elegant indoor glass front niches. These offer sacred, lasting ways to honor your loved one. If cremation is your choice, our memorialization is a forever option. Give them the dignity of a permanent resting place where they'll be remembered for generations. Visit us today, CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:07, Congressman Mary Miller has a response to Governor Jelly Belly's mandatory mental screening law. He wants parents to have to opt out. She suggests that parents should choose to opt in if they want mental health screening to occur in schools. We'll discuss with her at 7:07. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
How to give Ukraine a security guarantee. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That is now being discussed by U.S. and European military leaders after Monday's meetings at the White House, where Fox's Alexandria Hoff reports.
Last night, the chairman of Joint Chiefs huddled with his counterparts from Germany, the UK, France, Finland, and Italy.
And today, an even bigger virtual meeting will be led by the U.S.
The 32 countries that comprise NATO, that is, again, to discuss security guarantees. Those will help President Zelensky build support for any kind of land concessions needed to make a peace deal. Reuters reports that one option floated is sending European forces to Ukraine operating under their own flags, not NATO, and then putting the U.S. in charge of their command.
But Russia's foreign minister is critical of European involvement, saying any talk of security must include Russia. There's also no commitment yet from Moscow for leader Vladimir Putin to meet one-on-one with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, which President Trump has been trying to set up. In the war in Gaza, 3 Israeli soldiers have been wounded.
The troops were attacked by more than 15 Hamas members who sprung out of tunnel shafts near an Israeli command post in Khan Yunis. The militants used guns and anti-tank weapons in an attempt to infiltrate the fortified position. It's being described as an organised and unprecedented attack.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. 8 of the Hamas fighters were killed as Israel gets ready to ramp up the war in Gaza City, approving a plan to call up 60,000 reserve soldiers. Now something new in the crackdown on crime in Washington, a probe into whether crime stats were falsified to make the city look safer.
The Justice Department's investigation into D.C. crime numbers follows President Trump's order for a federal takeover of the Metro Police Department, which has brought hundreds of National Guard members to the streets of the nation's capital. It's not clear what federal laws could have been violated by the possible manipulation of crime data.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Beaches are closed for swimmers along the East Coast as Hurricane Erin moves north. Even though it'll stay out to sea, the storm is causing dangerous rip currents and whipping up the surf. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Mayor Johnson is responding to pleas from alders on the city's southwest side concerning flooding issues. The mayor met with Alderman Ray Lopez yesterday morning to speak to homeowners in the Gage Park neighborhood. Residents recently had their basements flooded, causing damage. Mayor Johnson says later this month the city should be hearing from FEMA about any possible help. The city and Red Cross handed out kits that included emergency and cleaning supplies. Chicago's Governor's Office of Emergency Management and Communications is urging those who have been impacted by flooding to fill out a damage assessment survey by late Friday afternoon. A Chicago woman is accused of causing a deadly crash on the Dan Ryan while drunk on the city's south side. Deja Williams has been charged with aggravated driving under the influence of alcohol causing death and reckless homicide. Police say the defendant was driving on Saturday on the northbound Dan Ryan near 130th Street before the rollover incident. Williams was hurt along with her two passengers. One passenger, identified as De'Air Williams, passed away. A lightning strike is being blamed for the cause of a house fire in suburban Lockport. The blaze broke out Monday night in the home on West Caraway Court after storms hit the area. No injuries were reported. The Red Cross is assisting the displaced family. News is a service of Anthony DeGrotto, your Chicagoland State Farm agent. His team will work to provide the best service you expect at the price you want. Like a good neighbor, Anthony DeGrotto State Farm is there. DeGrottoSF.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Scott Jennings can't believe what he's hearing.
ICE is a terrorist organization. It needs to be defunded and needs to be abolished.
That is a United States congressperson, Congresswoman Ramirez of Illinois. Her unhinged rhetoric comes as ICE agents face a staggering 830% increase in violent attacks.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Terry's Tiny Homes, Terry! Sure, as the only employee of her company, Terry was probably the front runner, but saving money getting personalized discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive, well, that gave Terry the edge. Over Terry.
Terry! Terry!
Keep awkwardly chanting your own name, Terry. You deserve it. Woo! Be your own Terry. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
U.S. Air Force Technical Sergeant Jesse Clark's military service came to an end after a chemical exposure caused a large tumor to form in his brain. As a result, he is paralyzed on the left side of his body, legally blind, prone to memory loss, and in a wheelchair. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation built this hero a new smart home to help him live a more independent life. Help heroes like Jesse Clark. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. You probably know I help business owners fight back against the IRS, but did you know I can help with state taxes too? Right now, Illinois is about to open a rare tax amnesty program. For a short window of time, you can pay certain back taxes and have the state wipe out the penalties and interest, no strings attached. But here's the thing, once that window closes, the chance to save is gone. The Illinois Department of Revenue will announce the exact start date and requirements any day now. When they do, the clock will start ticking. Go to fightbacknow.com and sign up for my daily email. I'll give you clear updates the moment news breaks, walk you through exactly what you need to do, and help you avoid mistakes that can cost you thousands. Don't get caught off guard. When the state offers a deal like this, you have to move quickly. Go now to fightbacknow.com and get on the list, because when the clock runs out, so does your opportunity to wipe out those extra charges and save big. That's fightbacknow.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes. Outbound is about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Vernon Interchange, about 18 minutes. Outbound is about 22 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 30 minutes. Outbound is about 19 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 28 minutes. Outbound is about 20 minutes. Traffic is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey is offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be humid with clouds giving way to sun, reaching a high of 77. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with a low of 65. Tomorrow looks pleasant with plenty of sunshine and a high of 77. By Friday, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. When we took up Governor Jellybelly's mandatory mental health screening law the other week, mentioned some of the problems here because on the face of it, we just want to screen children in schools to identify children that may be struggling with mental health issues so that they can get the treatment they need. That's how it's being sold. That sounds eminently reasonable, doesn't it? But then you have to take a step back and say, well, is this the right environment to do that? Are these the right people to do that? And I'm not talking about teachers or administrators, but even so-called therapists in a K through 12 government school environment, because what the law will do, is make mandatory mental health screenings for kids in grades 3 through 12, unless the parents opt out. Well, there's a good piece in City Journal that I mentioned in our previous discussion. I'll mention it again. This by an analyst over at the Manhattan Institute. Experts caution against universal mental health assessments, even when they are administered by licensed physicians in primary care settings. One reason is that such screenings, whether for depression, behavioral or emotional risk, or suicide, lack any empirical support to show that they prevent mental health challenges from developing or help those in need of services to get them sooner. In other words, you want to see a manifestation so that you can apply expertise in treating a particular manifestation. Another, back to the article, is that universal assessments can yield more than 50% false positives, resulting in inappropriate diagnoses and unnecessary treatments. That's not a small margin of error. That's why experts believe that screening is, quote unquote, unethical, actually, unless schools have the resources to ensure accurate diagnoses, treatment, and follow-up. Since Illinois schools are not clinical settings, there is not even a chance they can deliver on any of those prerequisites for what experts in the field have described as ethical mental health screenings. By the way, giving children an inaccurate diagnosis can harm their well-being. Even if a correct diagnosis has potential downsides, it does not explain the cause of a mental health problem, can lock a child into a label, and does not guarantee access to the right treatments. For some young people, medical diagnoses, including mental health diagnoses, can shape their identity and expectations, lead to long-term medication use, affect job prospects, diminish their sense of control over the future. These are documented realities. There's, not an insubstantial amount of research into this. For example, a 2-year follow-up assessment of a randomized control trial in psychotherapy for kids with respect to psychotherapy was found to offer little benefit for children's mental health. Randomized control trials for youth use of antidepressants have found similarly weak effects, meaning these treatments should be used when cases are serious, not as a universal first-order solution. Several forms of school-based mental health services, mental health centers, mindfulness trainings, universal cognitive behavioral therapy programs, and efforts to prevent depression and anxiety have also been shown not to work. Practices that researchers describe as evidence-based are typically demonstrated in clinical settings and are often incorrectly implemented in schools. And it goes on from there. One other aspect, since Jelly Belly, the governor of Illinois, has made this claim, he makes it all the time to sound like he is empathetic. Well, his empathy is of the pathological and disingenuous variety. He claims that it lowers the stigma associated with mental health screenings. But as the author of this Analysis writes, that coin has two sides. Normalizing behavior such as seeking a mental health diagnosis can make them spread. Some researchers find that reducing stigma around suicide, for example, can inadvertently normalize it. And stigma argument is thin, given that teachers report that kids are regularly diagnosing themselves with mental health conditions. Sure, there's the social contagion aspect of it that generates attention, just like we talk about with the mental health condition of pretending you're a girl when you're a boy, or pretending you're a boy when you're actually a girl. So lots of downsides, and it's difficult based on the science and data to identify the upsides, particularly the preemptive universal screening in the non-clinical setting of government schools. It's a pretty comprehensive repudiation of this idea. But I know the sentimentalist nature of it has great appeal. Congressman Mary Miller is a representative from Illinois' 15th. She joins us now to discuss what she is doing in response to the law that we've been discussing. Congressman Miller, thanks for joining us.
Well, good morning. Thank you for allowing me to talk about this important subject. This is our number one responsibility, is to protect our children. And I was very alarmed when I found out that this was their plan. We cannot trust these people in charge. And I'm a mom. I have 7 children, and I can attest to the fact that a lot of times parents are the last to know about what is going on in school or what kind of testing is going on. So I had the idea that we require a written opt-in protection. So I have a bill called Parents Opt-in Protection Act, and it's going to amend existing federal law to require written consent for any type of survey, analysis, or evaluation.
And so this would be federal statutes that would be applicable to all schools across the country. This is not obviously specific to Illinois because it's federal legislation.
Yes, because garbage like this is like a contagion, and you could see it spreading to other states too. Illinois is the first state to require this.
Right, first state to require this. So this is precedent setting, and this is why you're essentially intervening over the top. And the opt-in versus opt-out, right? Right now in Illinois, there's an opt-out option. And you're saying, no. When it comes to K through 12 and to institute something like this, we want it to be opt-in instead. Why do you favor opt-in versus opt-out?
Well, first of all, opt-out, it's complicated. People have to go find the forms. That's what parents are doing now. It doesn't start till 2027, but parents are on it right now. Mm-hmm. But also the parent has to know about it. And that's why I want all evaluations and tests like this to be opt-in. So parents have to want this. It can't be done by the school by default because the parents didn't know about it.
Have you?
And the whole thing is ridiculous. Their primary task is to educate our children, and they are failing at it. And now they want to turn our schools into mental health facilities.
Yeah, and I assume, like many state legislators, you've been hearing a lot about this legislation and now law from your constituents in Southern Illinois.
Yes, they're concerned about it. They're alarmed, and parents don't want time in the classroom spent on this. They don't want the money spent. Anybody that knows what's going on knows that these tests could have life consequences for their children because they'll be labeled. This will be part of their permanent record. Maybe it will trigger DCFS to come out. I can just imagine the kind of questions they're going to ask them about gender, about guns, about religion, politics, leading perverted sexual questions. I've seen some of those in tests over the years, and we cannot trust these people. These people cannot define what a woman is. They cannot agree that they should protect our girls in their private spaces. So they should not be trusted to give our children mental health exams.
That's really the fundamental issue, isn't it? I mean, in addition to sort of the mission focus where there is general failure, the reading, writing, critical thinking, this is another gambit to diminish parental rights, isn't it?
Yes, and I'm a strong supporter of parental rights, and I want to implore the listeners today, parents, grandparents, you cannot be passive. You have to be involved with your children's education. Talk to them every day about what's going on in the classroom. Look at their books. If they're given a novel to read and you're not familiar with it, look up the review on the internet or read it alongside of your children. This is the only way that we can hold the schools accountable, is if parents do not abdicate their responsibility. And communities thrive when parents and schools work together. Parents should be in the driver's seat on everything, including these tests, which this is what my bill does. It puts parents in the driver's seat instead of the schools automatically doing mental testing on your children. You are going to have to give written consent for it.
The legislation is entitled the Parents Opt-in Protection Act, sponsored by Congressman Mary Miller. Congressman Miller, thanks so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Is your business using Windows 10? Very soon, updates for your system will no longer be available. Yes, the clock is ticking on Windows 10. Microsoft will no longer provide free updates, technical support, and security fixes for Windows 10 and previous versions. So take action before your business is impacted. Turnkey is offering a free Windows readiness check. This assessment will analyze your network needs and prepare your business for Windows 11. Don't wait. If you're not ready, your system is vulnerable and you could be hacked. All your data could be lost. Can your business afford that? Visit turnkey.pro to sign up for your free assessment. Turnkey can help prepare you for the transition, ensuring a seamless move from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Ask about the free Windows readiness check today. Visit turnkey.pro to do it. But there's no support for Windows 10. That's turnkey.pro. Turnkey, your small business champions.
Everybody is keeping an eye on the Fed and how an interest rate cut might affect gold prices. Gold has been hovering at around $3,400 an ounce for the last 2 months and is poised for dramatic growth with the next interest rate cut. When rates go down, returns on bonds follow, and that's why gold continues to be the safe haven asset of choice for smart investors. Are you protected? Don't wait until it's too late to profit from the back and forth from the Fed on interest rates. Right now, if you have a qualified IRA or 401k, you could receive up to $10,000 in free gold and silver when you open your retirement account with Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000 now or visit AdvantageGold.com and get your free gold IRA guide and find out how much bonus gold you qualify for. Call 800-900-8000 to qualify for your free $10,000 precious metals bonus when you open your qualified gold IRA with Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000 now. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial and tax professionals before making investment decisions. Call 800-900-8000.
Shoot. Hun, I can't fix this leak.
That's okay, babe. I'll get a plumber.
Oh, boy. What's that going to cost?
I'll let you know in 60 seconds.
Huh?
For a rapid estimate on a plumbing repair, just go to centerguardplumbing.com. Use the easy price calculator and get a quote for many jobs in just 60 seconds.
Okay, it's not going to be much, babe.
Okay, that was fast.
Serving the entire Chicagoland area since 2005, CenterGuard Plumbing is your trusted source for quick, lasting repairs, sewer services, water line solutions, water heater service, to whole house water treatment. And with their online easy price calculator, you can get a free quote in just 60 seconds. Trust CenterGuard to do the job right. Quality work at the lowest prices around. They're family owned with top-notch plumbers that are licensed, bonded, and insured. Whether installing a new faucet or plumbing a new home, you can count on CenterGuard. Get your free quote now at centerguardplumbing.com. They're ready to help.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Winetock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Winetock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Winetock Market and Lounge, voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Winetock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Why don't we do one of those one-day bathroom remodels?
Well, because I don't want a generic bathroom that looks like it belongs at a campsite.
Fair. I'd love something that fits us. A bigger shower, safety grab bars, better lighting, heated floors.
Let's go with Forever Remodeling. There's no templates. Every design is unique and exactly what we want.
At Forever Remodeling, no two bathrooms are ever the same. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I know you've missed her. I know you have. And her incisive commentary on the salient issues of the day. Well, I'm going to cure that longing right now because, yes, Kamala Harris gathered a roundtable of young Latino leaders. How do I know they were young Latino leaders? Because there was a chyron in the video that said, Kamala Harris meets with young Latino leaders. That's how I knew. So organic. And they gathered to talk about redistricting in Texas. What else? Because she's always Janie on the spot when it comes to these big issues. With something important to say that really crystallizes the choice before us as Americans. Enjoy the sustained wit and wisdom of one Kamala Harris.
Here's how I think about it. I think you're right in terms of the effect. I think what they're doing is they're cheating. I think they're cheating. They want to change the current system to make it bend toward the outcome they want. And so, if you believe the public reporting, they get a call that says, hey, redo your lines, even though the fallout is going to include exactly what you said, which is, taking the franchise, the vote, away from specific communities. And in the case of Texas, Latino and Black voters. Yeah. And diluting their votes. And this is not a census year. Yeah. But this is a year with the big, beautiful bill and the unpopularity of it. And so they want to bend the rules. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that, those Texan legislators, good for them. That takes a lot of courage.
Nobody does a better job of waiting a week to stitch together all the 8-word aphorisms from the left in response to a particular policy issue and then just string them together in no particular order over a minute and a half. Sitting before young Latino leaders as her captive audience. Wonderful. Thank you for the contribution. By the way, that heroism that she described, because others described it thusly, including our very own Governor Jelly Belly. The heroism of those flea-bagging Texas State House Dems, it continues even though they're back in the Lone Star State. Nicole Collier is one of those flea-bagging State House Marxists in Texas. She spent the other night locked up in the Capitol because she will not comply. She will not bend the knee. She is the vanguard of our democracy, don't you know? As she explained.
In order to leave the Capitol, I refused. I refused to sign the permission slip to be able to leave the Capitol. I disagree with that authoritarian tactic that they have taken. As being part of the minority party, we don't have a lot of victories, but we do have our principles. We still have our dignity, and we still have the right to protest and resist. I will have to stay here. I hadn't really given much thought. What matters to me is making sure that I resist and fight back against and push back. I'm sure I'll fall asleep eventually, whether that's in my chair or on the floor. I'm sure I will get some rest, but I'm so appreciative of my Democratic colleagues because they've been bringing me refreshments and encouraging me. In fact, I've asked the chair of the House Democratic Caucus, and he has joined me in a sign of unity and to resist this power, authority, control over us and what we're trying to do.
Just a point of order. There was an arrest warrant issued for you and your flea-bagging friends there, Representative Collier. So maybe that is why the permission slip to leave has been implemented as a condition that you don't flea-bag your way back to Illinois or some other state, and that you sit there and at least attempt to pretend to be an adult and offer your presence while the legislature's in session. But anyway, yeah, right. Not all heroes wear capes. Nicole Collier is spending the night in lockup at the state capitol. Coming up at 7:37, we'll turn our attention to matters economic. Starting with energy, we'll do that with economist Stephen Moore. 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The White House is reportedly considering Budapest as the location for a new peace negotiations between Russia, Ukraine, and the U.S.
Administration sources told Politico that the Secret Service is preparing for a trilateral summit in Hungary, which is led by Trump ally Viktor Orban. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt would neither confirm nor deny the report. It's still not clear that the summit will even take place. Russia's foreign minister said on state-run TV that Moscow hasn't ruled out talks with Ukraine, but insisted that the process would unfold gradually. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The FDA is giving approval for a first-of-its-kind glucose monitoring system for weight loss.
Created by startup Signos, a paid membership gets you an AI platform and continuous glucose monitor. The system offers recommendations for weight management based on real-time data. A 3-month membership is priced at $139 a month. I'm Michael Kastner.
News is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey is offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
The biggest AM 560 event of the year is coming to Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove on Friday, August 22nd. It's Sean Fest 2025. Join hundreds of fellow AM 560 listeners for the summer's best party. Be a part of the on-location broadcast with Sean Thompson, followed by live music, photo opportunities, food and dessert trucks, and it's all free. Registration is requested at 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. Sponsored in part by Quick Delivery Service and by myvirago.com.
Life can change so abruptly. Just ask Paul. He's a hardworking entrepreneur. He's young. He's got a young family. Suddenly, though, he develops a rare medical condition where he lost the use of both of his arms.
I could no longer drive a car, couldn't use a computer, couldn't type, couldn't use a mouse. I could not hold my son, who was about a month old.
Paul and his family were facing a mountain of medical bills, but they're so thankful that they're members of MediShare.
I think if someone asked me like, hey, does MediShare really work? I'm living proof that it works. My 4 children are living proof that it works. My arms, which have been healed, are living proof that MediShare works. Just knowing the emotional peace of mind, knowing that our needs are going to be taken care of when we have some type of medical problem, that is such a huge blessing to us.
It could be a huge blessing to you, too. People save so much and love being part of MediShare. Call now, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes. Outbound is about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Vernon Interchange, about 18 minutes. Outbound is about 22 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 30 minutes. Outbound is about 19 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 28 minutes. Outbound is about 20 minutes. Traffic is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey is offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be humid with clouds giving way to sun, reaching a high of 77. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with a low of 65. Tomorrow looks pleasant with plenty of sunshine and a high of 77. By Friday, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Pardon my lazo, but lazo, isn't it? But the American economy needs big energy to power it in the digital world of the 21st century. And Chevron CEO Mike Wirth is one of those evil fossil fuel company CEOs who's actually on the job. He sat down with Fox News to talk about building, quote-unquote, behind-the-meter energy capacity, which he credited Donald Trump for advancing. Take a listen.
Well, the demand for power in this country is going to go up as these data centers are built out. Our grid hasn't been invested in for many years, and further investments that would run the power through the grid to support the data centers are going to be increasingly challenged. We've got more wind and solar, which means more intermittency on the grid. The grid's less stable than it once was. What we're looking to do is build power generation that's off the grid, so it's called behind the meter. It would be dedicated to these data centers. It would not go into the rate base, so it would not raise people's electricity bills, and we're working with the biggest tech companies in the world to try to support their desires to grow, fund that with abundant and affordable American natural gas, and do it in a way that doesn't flow through to consumers.
I imagine President Trump would like that solution if it's not going to make the ratepayers, the households, pay for the energy that is going to benefit all the tech companies.
In fact, this was the president's idea. He's talked about this for quite some time. I think it's brilliant, and we're seeing the tech companies really interested in it.
By the way, it's Lato. Big energy. That was my cultural reference. I did a Lizzo, Lato, portmanteau, and saying Lazo. You'll excuse me. For more on the energy piece of the discussion, though, pleased to be joined by Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Dan.
It's sort of interesting. We were having this discussion with an AEI policy analyst yesterday about sort of this energy independence is the wrong term. We want market-based energy, that meets the moment, and the way to meet the moment with energy production is to let markets drive it. And here seems to be an innovative way to address the capacity we'll need without having to have regular residential consumers bear the brunt of the cost.
Yeah, so this is a big issue that very few Americans are paying attention to. I bet most Americans don't. I bet if you just walk down the street and ask the average person, say in the Chicago area, where do you get your electric power from? Most would go, what are you talking about? It comes right out of the electric socket. That's where it comes from.
Exactly. Behind my wall.
So we take for granted, where it comes from. And most of our electric power across the country comes from natural gas and coal. Natural gas and coal, those are fossil fuels. We still get the vast majority of our electric power from them. And Biden wanted to just shut those down. Have you heard of this idea called net zero? Dan, this crazy idea the left had that we're not going to use any fossil fuels.
Yeah, for like the last 20 years or so. Yes.
Yeah, right. I mean, these idiots are like, okay, we're not going to use any oil, gas, and coal, and we're going to get all our power from windmills. Oh, gee, that sounds like a great, we're going to go back to the 18th century and get our power from sundials and windmills. So we have to take this seriously, because when you think about risks and dangers to the American economy and to our security, I think the thing that keeps me up at night is the unreliability of our grid system.
Well, you just heard Worth talk about, because of the non-market emphasis on renewables. Yes. We have a reliability problem.
No doubt about it. It's really dangerous. I mean, look, if you were Dr. Evil and you wanted to destroy the American economy or disable it, the way you would do it is take out our electric grid system and take out our ability to use the internet and use heat our homes and our factories and run our factories, et cetera. So this should be a very high priority for the country. And this idea, again, it's so crazy. The Biden people were active in shutting down our energy and pretending that we were going to be able to, do this all with windmills. And so the good news is Trump is hyper serious about this. We've got a great energy secretary who believes in using all of the above. By the way, we should also be building nuclear power plants. We have an item in our hotline this morning that we just sent out showing that, right now China is building 20 nuclear power plants. We have 1 or 2 in construction, 1 or 2. We have these new small nuclear reactors that can be used that are much, much safer than the big, huge nuclear reactors we used to build. And those can, supply enough energy for, a medium-sized city or something like that. So my point is, as we move into the new era of artificial intelligence, robotics, they're going to use 3 times our energy demand over the next 25 years. It could go up triple. And yet we're not prepared for that at all, especially when you have the left out there trying to dismantle our energy supply. But now the good news is oil and gas production was just announced last week in the United States are at an all-time high right now. Thank you, Donald Trump. Drill, baby, drill is working. But we have to use oil, gas, coal, nuclear power, whatever we got to make sure that we're ready for this new era. And if you have a disruption in the grid system, it will do great damage to our economy.
Yeah, I go back to Holman Jenkins, Wall Street Journal, who's, I think, encapsulated nicely. If you went back and say you go back 30 years and say, how much is the U.S. willing to spend on climate change to have no effect on climate change? People would say, right. Well, of course, nothing. Spend all that, spend something to have no effect. Well, it turns out we spent trillions of dollars to accomplish just that, to have no effect.
Yeah, we did. You're exactly right. I mean, I don't know if it's trillions, but certainly hundreds and hundreds of billions. And, let's just take the 4 years that Biden was president. So he came in, you all remember the first thing he did was say no to the Keystone XL pipeline. I don't understand why they're against natural gas, by the way. Natural gas is a clean burning fuel. It's everything you want in a fuel. And so they started dismantling our energy. And then they said, no, we're going to have all this subsidies. I think they spent about $300 billion on wind and solar power. Now, here's the amazing statistic. When Biden came in to office, we got 81% of our energy in the United States, including our transportation fuels, from fossil fuels. Do you know what it was at the end of the Biden presidency?
80.5%.
79.5%. So, I mean, we barely moved the needle at all after spending $300 billion. And by the way, a lot of those windmills and solar farms are going out of business now because they don't have the federal tit to suck on anymore because we're taking away a lot of those subsidies. So
I think we say teat. I think we say teat on these airwaves. Gee whiz, good grief.
But anyway, this is the reality. So we have to be building. Why aren't we building nuclear power plants in this country? I mean, why are we so stupid? China's building 20 of them. We're building 0.
I want to get to another matter. This I saw in your Unleash Prosperity newsletter, and I was taken aback. Actually, was there some sort of lag effect between Trump's early buyout and Doge or something that I missed? The estimated reduction in the federal workforce by the end of this year will be 300,000, which is a 12% reduction in force. I mean, first of all, the fact that 300,000 is only 12% highlights the problem. But I mean, that's what the early buyout stuff we were talking about 1-2%. What happened?
They offered early buyout for federal workers. They also fired a lot of federal workers, and when you shut down government agencies, you don't need those people. And by the way, I have a lot of friends who took, because I live in the swamp, as you know.
Yeah.
So I have friends who took it. It was a pretty sweet deal they got. But we've had big reductions in force, and what I'm saying is that we are, believe it or not, folks, I know most won't believe it, we are starting to drain the swamp. We're getting rid of all of these federal government employees that we don't need anymore at the State Department, at all these federal Department of Energy is only half full of people now. I mean, let's just sell the building, get rid of it.
So no, but I mean that's a material impact on the size of the workforce. Yes. That's pretty encouraging. I mean, not that I want people to lose their jobs, but I mean, we all recognize that 2.5 million people working for the federal government is a federal government that's just too big.
I would hope everyone would.
Yeah, right.
Well, and by the way, these people, I mean, they get 30% more than an equally skilled private sector worker. And the thing is, when Biden kept talking about stimulating the economy, what he meant was adding more government workers. But the problem is, if you don't have private sector workers paying their salary, then you can't have government workers. In other words, it takes 4 private sector worker to pay the taxes to pay for that one government worker. So government workers are not additive to the economy. They subtract from the economy.
Something else, though, too. I hadn't seen an updated data on this in a long time. I remember Cato Institute did a review of this, 10, 15 years ago. You were doing the combined, all the state level welfare benefits, and then what that translated to into basically.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, that was
you?
My study I did about 20.
Yeah. This was a long.
How much can you get if you get all the benefits? If you get all the the food stamps and the health care and the AFDC and all that stuff, you're right. You could make. And now what the new studies show are that in many states you can get over $30,000 of benefits, and in some states, like I think the number one, I think.
Massachusetts,
was like $42,000 of free things.
No, it's. I mean, so Illinois is sort of in the center there at just over $30,000, but. And then
you're such cheapskates.
Yeah, we are. We need to grow our welfare state here. That's no question. But Minnesota, Massachusetts, they're the two worst in reverse order. Massachusetts the worst, Minnesota second worst. Both north of $45,000 in total market value of benefits to not work.
And the only thing you have to do to get that money is not work. As long as you're not working, if you get a job, then they're going to take the benefits. That's one of the big problems with welfare is a lot of people, if they took a $50,000 job, they'd actually be, almost gaining no income, from it because they lose all the benefits. So that's why welfare is so insidious. We're holding people out of the workforce because we've made it so generous to get all the free stuff. And then, of course, when we try to say stuff like, hey, we've got an idea, why don't we say that if you're able-bodied, if you're not disabled and you're able to work and you're 28 years old, hey, before we're going to give you any of these benefits, you have to go out and get a job. Oh, my God, those terrible, heartless, cruel Republicans.
Yeah.
How dare they require people to work for benefits?
Right, and this is just all the state-level benefits. It doesn't layer in the federal benefits.
Well, some of it does include
federally supported benefits that are administered at the state level. Yes,
yeah.
But I mean,
and by the way, what the states do then is in other words, they try to sign up people for these programs because the more people that they sign up, the more money
they get from the feds.
They get.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Yeah.
Well, and it's not only that, like comparing it, like, oh well, nobody wants to make $30,000 a year, whatever. But the point is to say you're telling them until you can get something that makes $30,000 don't work, and it's a moral hazard rather than getting in the workforce maybe at 25, especially when you're young, as you said, and then by the time you're in the workforce for 5, 7, 10 years, you're making well north of all that because you've worked hard and you moved up. I mean that's how it works. It's not static.
There's two other things that are going on here. Number one, that $35,000, $40,000 you get, that's tax free. Right?
Yes, right. Yes. Good point.
The second point to make is that a lot of these people who are getting these benefits, they are working actually, and they're just not reporting the income. And so that's one of the reasons a job requirement is so important, because if you force somebody to work, they can't be in two places at one time. They can't be in the job that they were not reporting to the government and the one that that they're put in officially. So you get rid of so much of the fraud. I would say at least a third of the money that goes to these programs is fraud. Either people ineligible or they're working or not reporting their income. So, if you actually have a work requirement, you dramatically reduce the amount of fraud.
Well, speaking of that, then is Russ Vought, is he the one that's still manning the helm of Doge? And maybe he should do a study about just trying to put a number on that fraud that you're describing.
Yeah, I'm good friends with Russ, and he's done an amazing job. I kind of don't know what's happened with Doge. It's kind of been out of the news lately. They came in as a whirlwind of activity, and I kind of don't know the status of it because there was a revolt against Doge.
Well, I know, but somebody. I mean, nobody thought this was going to be a 6-month job to clean out the Augian stables here. So tell Russ to get somebody in charge of Doge and report back.
Well, one of the most important things, Dan, that Trump has done, among a lot of really amazing things Trump has done in 6 or 7 months, is maybe one of the best things he did was get rid of all the foreign aid money, because that foreign aid money never helped any poor person anywhere. It was we created a massive foreign aid industrial complex of people living in glitzy places, telling how much they cared about poor people. That money never did anything to provide development to these countries. I mean, show me any foreign aid success story over the last 40 years after spending hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars.
Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. Steve, thanks as always.
Okay, Dan. Have a good one. Take care.
You too. And Steve, join us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You think your 401k is safe, growing, reliable. But here's the truth. The 401k was never designed to make you wealthy. It was built to shift risk onto you, leaving your retirement exposed to Wall Street crashes, inflation, and chaos. Noble Gold helps Americans roll over part of their 401k into real physical gold. Tax advantage, penalty-free, and shockproof. Get your free wealth protection kit now at noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
At almostfreeteeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at almostfreeteeth.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Wanted to update everybody on some Gen Z lexicon that has been added to the Cambridge Dictionary, just so you can stay au courant, communicate with the Gen Zers out there. I know you're going to want to do that. Or Gen Zers, you can have communications with, those that are your senior, which I'm sure you're excited to do as well. Skibbity is one of the slang terms popularized by social media that are among more than 6,000 additions this year to the Cambridge Dictionary. As seemingly we become less literate. I'm told by those in the know, skibbity can have a number of different meanings, including good, bad, cool, or even weird. And it also can have no meaning and just be a gibberish sound. It was popularized by the creator of a viral animated YouTube series called Skibbity Toilet about toilets with human heads sticking out of the bowl. How did I miss that high art? I guess I was too focused on Hunter's blow art. Some other terms you may want to familiarize yourself with. Luke, like L-E-W-K. It's a play on the word look, because look isn't good enough, meaning a particular style, fashion, or outfit, especially one that is unusual and impressive. It was made popular by RuPaul's Drag Race program. Luke. I also saw, I mentioned this yesterday, that wonderful expose by WBEZ, state-funded media, for now, going away. And now all the leftist foundations are coming in to try and prop it up. I knew you didn't need the money. Anyway, the expose was on CPS students, what they're wearing back to school as of yesterday, or Monday, I should say. Because that's what's really important. WBZ is really center cut there. The fashion of freshmen and sophomores in CPS as opposed to, their ability to read and write, or read and do math at grade level, maybe critically think a little bit. Anyway, the one kid referred to his outfits as fit, and that was new to me, so I'm trying to keep up. All right, so we got Skibbity, we got Luke, we got Fitz. I'm throwing that one in myself. Trad wife, short for traditional wife. Stay-at-home mom, basically. A broligarchy. It's a blend of bro and oligarchy. Yeah, I kind of picked up on that. Refers to a small group of men, especially those in tech, who are rich and powerful and who have or want political influence. So, like Musk and Bezos would be part of a broligarchy. Inspo. A lot of this isn't very creative. They're just sort of abbreviations for words, because we don't even have the attention span to use the full word inspiration. So you just use inspo, and then the definition is the definition for inspiration. I'm not saying it's a creative or particularly productive, these additions to the English language. I'm just saying this is what Gen Z has to offer us. So take that as you see fit. Incorporate it into your verbiage, conversations with others as you see fit. Coming up at 8:08, we'll talk to Jed Babin as we see fit about those security guarantees for Ukraine in furtherance of peace in Eastern Europe. It is now 8 a.m. We'll talk to Jed at 8:08. It is now 8 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It's not going to make a direct hit. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, but Hurricane Aaron, a Category 2 storm, will make an impact as it moves north way offshore, because Fox meteorologist Janice Dean says
this storm is so huge, 600 miles wide. We're going to feel impacts of tropical storm winds. We're going to feel the definite waves. We could see storm surge up to 4 feet, especially along the Outer Banks.
That's where Fox Weather's Mike Seidel is in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina.
We've got warnings, advisories for big surf, 15 to 20 footers here. Rip currents all the way from Florida to Cape Cod, Massachusetts. That's about 1,200 miles. The worst of the weather here will be later tonight through Thursday night. Most of the beaches along the eastern seaboard have been closed to swimmers, including here. We've got the double red flag, so they don't want anybody in the water. It's just too dangerous.
There are mandatory evacuations in the North Carolina Outer Banks. The morning after the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman met with some European military leaders discussing Ukraine's security and the push for a peace agreement with Russia, there is a bigger meeting.
The chiefs of defense of all 32 NATO members are invited to this gathering. Some allies are willing to put troops on the ground to help deter Russia from invading Ukraine in the future. President Trump insists those troops won't be American. He's been talking in terms of offering air support. The meeting will be chaired virtually from Washington by the commander of U.S. European Command, General Alexis Grinkovich.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Russia's foreign minister is critical of European involvement. Sergei Lavrov says Russia must be included in security talks as President Trump
Trump keeps trying to get Russian leader Vladimir Putin and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky to meet. The U.S. also keeps trying to stop the war in Gaza. Special envoy Steve Witkoff tells Fox
that conflict should end immediately. 20 hostages should be returned to their families.
But a Hamas-approved proposal from Arab mediators would only free some hostages, as Israel approves a plan to call up 60,000 reserve troops to escalate the war. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Two bipartisan former Obama administration officials are pushing for fairer maps in Illinois state legislative districts. Former U.S. Commerce Secretary Bill Daley says it's time for a change.
This gets on the ballot. The people of Illinois, for the first time in a very long time, have a chance to send a statement to the political system, both sides, that we want this thing to be different.
Daley and ex-Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood are leading an effort to establish a ballot initiative in 2026 to reform the redistricting process for state legislative map making. The proposed constitutional amendment would establish a citizen-led committee to redraw the maps after the 2030 census. The latest attempt to make legislative maps fair in Illinois follows the departure of the Texas Democrats, who spent 2 weeks in suburban Chicago to avoid a vote in their state on so-called GOP-backed redrawing of congressional district boundaries. Hundreds of workers at a Chicago Target warehouse are out of a job over allegations that they were involved in a scheme to defraud an employee medical benefits program. Block Club Chicago reports employees at Target's distribution center on South Pulaski Road took advantage of a glitch in the company's medical loan program. The glitch allowed employees to take out loans for $3,000 and pay back just $50 to have the balance erased. Target confirms the firings at the Little Village facility, saying that they were terminated for violating the company's code of ethics. News is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Target is getting a new CEO, and it is a company insider. Current Chief Operating Officer Michael Fidelki will take over from current CEO Brian Cornell in February. Cornell has been leading Target for 11 years. He'll remain with Target as executive chairman. Target faced boycotts from shoppers because of its Pride Month displays 2 years ago, and then a separate boycott after it pulled back on corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Fidelki says his goal will be to revive Target's focus on stylish, unique merchandise and great customer experiences. Lowe's sales were up more than 1% in the recent quarter. Shares of the home improvement company are up 3%. Estee Lauder is continuing to lose money. The stock is down 8%. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
Mike Gallagher sees an epidemic in our country.
So picture this. You got all these white boomers standing there holding hands 8 miles long to protest the mass deportation. It's all aging, white, bored liberals. Why is this? It's white guilt. We got to figure out this epidemic of bored white boomers.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Terry's Tiny Homes, Terry! Sure, as the only employee of her company, Terry was probably the front runner, but saving money getting personalized discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive, well, that gave Terry the edge. Over Terry. Terry! Terry! Keep awkwardly chanting your own name, Terry. You deserve it. Woo! Be your own Terry. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
U.S. Air Force Technical Sergeant Jesse Clark's military service came to an end after a chemical exposure caused a large tumor to form in his brain. As a result, he is paralyzed on the left side of his body, legally blind, prone to memory loss, and in a wheelchair. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation built this hero a new smart home to help him live a more independent life. Help heroes like Jesse Clark. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 18 minutes, outbound 20 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 32 minutes, outbound 23 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 44 minutes. Outbound is going to be about 32 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 41 minutes. Outbound is about 27 minutes. This traffic update is quickly delivered by Quick Delivery Service. For same-day delivery, Quick Delivery will customize a logistics plan to pick up your items and move them safely to their destination. Trust their 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be humid with clouds giving way to sun, reaching a high of 77. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with a low of 65. Tomorrow looks pleasant with plenty of sunshine and a high of 77. By Friday, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Trump sweetening the pot for Ukraine yesterday when it comes to specificity about security guarantees and perhaps saber-rattling in the direction of Putin. Does that repel him from the negotiating table or encourage him to stick? He said on Fox, when it comes to security, they are willing to put people on the ground, referring to Europe. We're willing to help them with things, especially probably if you talk about by air, because there's nobody that has the kind of stuff we have, really, they don't have. In other words, we got air superiority, and we are apparently open-minded to using it in the direction of a security guarantee for Ukraine if a larger peace deal can get done. Is that judicious? Is that feasible? Is that something that advances the flag for a deal? For answers to that question and others, pleased to be joined by Jed Babin, former United States Deputy Undersecretary of Defense and contributor to the Washington Times and American Spectator. Jed, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good to be with you, Dan.
Good to have you. And so what about that? Europe was willing to put troops on the ground to enforce a deal, and we'll provide that reassurance with air support. these are hypotheticals at this point, but what do you make of raising those as hypotheticals?
Well, as hypotheticals, it's all right. I don't think Putin is going to buy off on any of it, and including our air power. Quite frankly, there's a little difference between having us flying and having boots on the ground. I'm not in favor of either one. Quite frankly, I don't think we should be engaged in defending Ukraine, but that's just my opinion. I think there's a lot of things going on. I don't think Putin is going to change his stripes, his policy one little bit. And I don't think the war is going to end because of that. I think Putin is dead set on conquering Ukraine. He is not going to change his mind. And I don't think there's going to be any way to make a deal. I really just don't see it.
Cliff May, Foundation of Defense of Democracy, for Defense of Democracies, agrees with you in terms of Putin's unseriousness with respect to any sort of deal. And he points out, oh, by the way, let's not forget, Putin has a 20-year comprehensive strategic partnership treaty with the mullahs in Iran, and, in Moscow and Tehran and Beijing and Pyongyang. These are the four posts of evil in the world, and they're allied with one another. And so the idea that Putin would want to side closer to the United States when it comes to this competition seems unlikely. He also said that this is Cliff May writing in the Washington Times. In his prepared remarks in Anchorage, Putin reiterated one of his main talking points, that any peace agreement must address the quote-unquote primary causes of the conflict. By that, he means Ukrainians insisting that they are not rogue Russians living in the boondocks, but rather a free and independent nation that refuses to be ruled again by either a czar or a commissar in the Kremlin. And that runs afoul of Putin's mission, according to May, of restoring the Russian Soviet Empire. So you think that Putin is intent on conquering and lording over Ukraine. Do you think that, would you go as far as Cliff May does, that he still is interested in trying to reconstitute the old USSR?
Well, I think Putin said that. Back in 2006, he said that the greatest tragedy of the 20th century was the fall of the Soviet Union. And he has meant always to restore the Soviet Empire. And what's more, and I don't think Cliff, raises this issue. I've raised it several times in the Washington Times, that Putin's main advisor, his philosopher king, is named Alexander Dugin. Mm-hmm. Alexander Dugin wrote in his seminal work, Foundations of Geopolitics, that unless Putin, he said any Russian ruler, unless any Russian ruler conquers Ukraine, they might as well forget about anything else in terms of restoring the Soviet Empire. So Putin's going to have to do this. He's going to be dedicated to it. He is dedicated to it. He's a Duginist, for God's sake. I mean, he is someone who is not going to bend, and he's not going to go away from his primary goal, which is conquering Ukraine, and thus beginning to restore the Soviet Empire.
Yeah, but I mean, part of this is, what you dream of doing and what you have any realistic capacity to do. And it is, with due respect to his influence in Georgia and some in Moldova and some other areas, I mean,
sure,
it just doesn't seem that is a plausible scenario in any way, shape, or form that he would reconstitute, that he would, redraw the Iron Curtain from Trieste to where am I? I'm forgetting. Trieste to the Baltics. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's realistic, but I think Putin wants to do it, and he sees weakness in the West. I mean, NATO is a shell of its former self. The European Union is a joke in terms of military capacity. I don't believe Putin believes that there is any capacity to deal with him. And the United States is not going to get involved. We have said as much, Mr. Trump has said as much as, he doesn't care what Putin does to the NATO nations if they don't pay up enough for defense. And they're not paying up enough for defense. So I don't know where this goes. I think Putin is going to do his best to conquer Ukraine, And he may branch out for Estonia or some of the other NATO nations. Who knows? He's going to keep going. He's not going to bend. You've got Cuba sending him soldiers, the North Koreans sending him soldiers. There's a lot of people who have a vested interest in seeing Putin win. And I don't believe the United States or the European Union, certainly because they're indistinguishable from the NATO membership, I don't believe that we have a complete and total interest in seeing Putin lose.
Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic. That was the Churchill Iron Curtain line. I forgot. So I just wanted to make sure I corrected the record there. So,
Good job.
Yeah, thank you very much. So what was your impression of that confab then on Monday with those European leaders and Rutte, the NATO Secretary General? Very complimentary of Trump for getting Putin to the table. Very complimentary of Trump, even with respect to his criticism of NATO and paying up, as you said, was Secretary General Rutte. But and there's been some sort of tough talk from Keir Starmer and Macron in the direction of Eastern Europe. But yeah, I can tell by your chuckling that you don't take much of it very seriously, and neither will Putin.
Well, he certainly won't. And Keir Starmer and Macron, I mean, they are representing nations that used to be military powers. They are no longer. And they are, quite frankly, some of the weakest nations in Europe. We can talk about Greece or Italy, but, the people in France, the people in the UK do not believe they're weak, but they are. They're terribly weak. And I don't think Macron is going to be taken seriously. I don't think Starmer is going to be taken seriously. It's like Trump said when Macron and Starmer announced that they were going to support a Palestinian state. He said, well, nothing they say is going to be counted for anything. So I think that goes true as respect to Russia as well.
Well, and it seems pretty clear that Putin is, and I assume this is well understood by Trump, that Putin is not going to take Zelensky seriously either. They've been calling him an illegitimate puppet for 3 years. So this idea of a bilateral with those two or a trilateral that would include Trump as some sort of facilitator, you see that as more photo op-ish than having any substantive prospect to advance the flag in the direction of peace for Ukraine.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's going to be a chance of peace in Ukraine. As long as Putin is alive, I don't think there's going to be a chance for peace. I think it's really quite that simple. And I don't think Mr. Trump is going to be terribly serious about it. I don't believe that he should be promising American air power in support of any troop deal, which the Ukrainians might negotiate with the French and the British. But I don't believe that the French and the British are going to actually have to do it, have to put troops in there, because Putin's never going to buy off on it. He just simply won't.
But here's the thing I'm confused about. So on the one hand, you sort of adopt and I get the philosophical underpinnings of Putin's worldview, but you adopt the position that he is expansionist, revanchist, I guess is the proper term, and that he is going to sack Kyiv at some point and then move on to the next target. On the other hand, you say that the United States shouldn't commit air power or concern itself with Ukraine. But if he is attempting to and makes material progress in reconstituting the old Soviet Union, then isn't that a national security concern for us?
It is a concern, but it's somewhat remote. I don't believe that we should be defending Ukraine with manpower. That's my basic bottom line. Mm-hmm. We should not be spending American lives in defense of Ukraine. However, we have a concern in Ukraine. We have a grave concern because we don't want Putin to win. We want Putin to lose, and in that case, we need to pump up Ukrainian military. We need to send them arms. We need to send them aid, and I hope that's what President Trump's going to do.
Well, and that's what's been done, as he mentioned in that summit with the Europeans, him sending, or the United States sending, and the Europeans paying for those weapons to Ukraine, which is a better deal than we were getting with Biden, that's for sure. But But doesn't Russia have problems too? I mean, for all of Putin's big dreams, they're bogged down in eastern Ukraine. They've suffered massive casualties. This has not gone according to plan for Putin in terms of what I've heard from most experts. And so, it seems like, he's a bit of a paper tiger, given the resources and the resource advantage he has.
Well, I mean, the resources he has, he's willing to spend. That's the difference between us and them. Putin certainly has economic problems at home. The Russian economy is not doing very well, and it will not do very well as long as this war goes on. But I don't think Putin cares. He's dependent. He's dependent on his philosophy. His philosophy demands that he conquer Ukraine, and he's going to, as long as he lives, he's going to continue to try to do so.
But he conquers Ukraine, and that becomes a potentially a quagmire for him if he doesn't have the resources to govern Ukraine, and he has to deal with insurrections and insurgent military action on a rolling basis. It makes it really hard for him to expand beyond there, doesn't it?
Sure, it does, but I don't believe he's going to be. The word is not retarded, but I think he's not going to be restrained by that.
Mm-hmm.
If he conquers Kiev, if he knocks out the Ukrainian government, he is going to be emboldened, and he's not going to stop. He is going to go on to, God only knows, Estonia, some of the other countries in Eastern Europe. He's not going to try to tackle Poland because they're too strong militarily. But I think he's going to keep going, and I don't believe I don't believe for a minute he's going to stop.
So then, in addition to the continued weapon sales to Europe to give to Ukraine, do you support the much ballyhooed secondary sanctions that are apparently another arrow in the quiver?
Yeah, I don't know why we haven't put them on yet. Trump keeps talking about severe economic consequences, and he backs off. I mean, empty threats do not impress Putin. And impressing Putin requires force. So if we're going to do it, let's do it. If we're not, then let's not talk about it.
Jed Babin, former United States Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, contributor to the Washington Times and the American Spectator as well. Jed, thanks as always.
Thank you.
And Jed joined us on the turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Bridget, first-time home buyer, posted this 5-star review about her mortgage experience. Team Hochberg made one of the biggest and nerve-wracking milestones in our life such an enjoyable experience. David and Anna talked us through every step in our home buying journey with a very tight timeline and made us feel comfortable every step of the way. We put in an offer at the beginning of November, and with Team Hochberg's help and expertise, we're able to close on our home by the end of the same month. I couldn't say better things about them and our experience. Team Hochberg all the way. Thank you, Bridget. If you'd like this type of 5-star service on your next mortgage, call Team Hochberg now at 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That number one more time and that website you love, 855-563-2843, and go to 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
Hey, let me tell you about a proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer, Access One IT Services and Support. Chicago business owners, listen up. Your phone, internet, and IT should work well 24/7. But when it doesn't, who are you calling? An overseas help desk? Don't do that. If you want clear, reliable, local experts, consider Chicago's best, Access One. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 30 years from their headquarters in the West Loop. Whether it's voice over IP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One has you covered. Access One is a Chicago-owned, Chicago-run, and serves thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore and everywhere in between. It's rated top 5% in customer satisfaction, and it's trusted by law firms, clinics, tech startups, and manufacturers. If you're in business, make sure your IT works well every day. Start a conversation about your business needs today. Call Access One at 1-800-804-8333 or visit them online at accessoneinc.com. That's accessoneinc.com, and tell them AM560 sent you.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Terry's Tiny Homes, Terry! Sure, as the only employee of her company, Terry was probably the front runner, but saving money getting personalized discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive, well, that gave Terry the edge. Over Terry.
Terry!
Keep awkwardly chanting your own name, Terry. You deserve it.
Woo!
Be your own Terry. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
U.S. Air Force Technical Sergeant Jesse Clark's military service came to an end after a chemical exposure caused a large tumor to form in his brain. As a result, he is paralyzed on the left side of his body, legally blind, prone to memory loss, and in a wheelchair. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation built this hero a new smart home to help him live a more independent life. Help heroes like Jesse Clark. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I can't believe I'm going to report on this. It is so juvenile, but it's remarkable how sophomoric some of our vaunted political leaders are. To wit, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. Apparently, he called conservative, libertarian rapper Tom McDonald. You know this guy? He's the guy with the face tattoos. He's had some popular songs. We played him on the show. Some, iTunes number ones. Anyway, McDonald, who has a song, I think basically calling Gavin Newsom the devil, he apparently referred to Tom McDonald on social media as gay. You're gay. So Tom McDonald, the rapper with the face tattoos, responded in kind. And here we go with the response and a little snippet from the song.
So, as many of you may have seen, Gavin Newsom called me gay on X this morning. I think he's just mad that the song I wrote about him, The Devil is a Democrat, is currently #1. But Gavin, you don't have to be mad. You've got lots of #1s too. California's #1 in homelessness. It's also #1 in unemployment. And who could forget it's #1 in totally preventable forest fires. You're crushing it, bud. Gavin, I think you're just mad that
the devil lives in California. He a politician. He passing bills that bring chaos and division. Yeah, the devil lives in California. Should be in prison. He got horns, but he tries to keep them hidden. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we don't play that. They say that. They love America. We know it ain't that. The devil is a Democrat. And we ain't with it. We ain't switching. Y'all are tripping. I guess God just built us different. They get celebrities to do they talking.
It's kind of catchy. I'm going to have to get in touch with Tom McDonald and see if he'll do one on Pritzker. Coming up at 8:38, adult sleepaway camps. Yes, seriously. Adults like in their 20s and 30s, particularly 30s, going to sleepaway camps like, archery and roasting marshmallows to make friends. It's sad. If you are one of those adults, please call in and tell us why you're so sad at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The White House says that Russian President Vladimir Putin has agreed to begin the next phase of the peace process.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that includes a possible meeting between Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that could lead to a trilateral with President Trump.
So we finally have movement after years of deadly gridlock.
She said Vice President J.D. Vance and other U.S. officials will continue to coordinate with Russia and Ukraine. Trump hosted Zelensky and several European leaders at the White House on Monday to discuss the war. Leavitt also reiterated Trump's assurance that he will not put American troops on the ground in Ukraine. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The Trump administration has a TikTok account. On Tuesday, the White House posted its first video featuring President Trump promising to deliver a better life for the people all across this nation. Trump has extended a deadline for TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to divest or sell the app, pushing it to September 17th. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Charlie Kirk sees the president cleaning up the swamp.
Donald Trump does not look at black or brown, Asian or white. He looks at the color red. The amount of blood that is being spilled in these cities. That is the only color that Donald Trump cares about. How much blood is pouring through the streets of Washington, D.C. unnecessarily, in an unacceptable way.
The Charlie Kirk Show, weekdays at 11, right before Scott Jennings at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Everybody is keeping an eye on the Fed and how an interest rate cut might affect gold prices. Gold has been hovering at around $3,400 an ounce for the last 2 months and is poised for dramatic growth with the next interest rate cut. If you have a qualified IRA or 401k, you could receive up to $10,000 in free gold and silver when you open your retirement account with Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000 now or visit AdvantageGold.com and get your free gold IRA guide. Consult with your financial and tax professionals before making investment decisions. Call 800-900-8000.
Hi, this is Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. We make the amazing Solaire infrared gas grills that are built to last and will consistently deliver better than restaurant grilled food. The Solaire infrared burner heats up to 1,000 degrees in just 3 minutes, even in the dead of winter. The high heat locks in the juices and flavor and grills food faster. Learn more about these fantastic USA-made grills at BestHotGrill.com. Solaire hot, fast grills at BestHotGrill.com.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Larry Older here. More than 200 members of Congress are standing up for AM radio listeners. The AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act will keep AM radio in cars because when cell and internet services are down, this free service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 39179 and tell Congress to pass this critical legislation now. Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 18 minutes, outbound 20 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 32 minutes, outbound 23 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 44 minutes, outbound is going to be about 32 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 41 minutes. Outbound is about 27 minutes. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Blindster.com sells custom blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices. Their blinds are handcrafted to fit your windows, and if they don't for any reason, they'll remake them for free. Your satisfaction is always guaranteed at Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be humid with clouds giving way to sun, reaching a high of 77. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with a low of 65. Tomorrow looks pleasant with plenty of sunshine and a high of 77. On Friday, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Who went to camp as a kid? I did a couple of camps. I did Honey Rock, a couple camps in Wisconsin, Honey Rock, and there was Camp Richards. But this was when I was like in high school, right? Or was it even grade school? Grade school, maybe. Yeah, maybe grade school. Yeah, high school I was probably playing sports in the summer. I don't know. Shows you how far removed I am from those days. I can't even remember, but I think it was grade school. Adult sleepaway camp. This a story in the Wall Street Journal. This is a real thing. Apparently, it's a relatively big thing. A text from 630. Adult sleepaway camps. Aren't we waiting on a client list from one of those? Hi-yo. Not that sort of adult sleepaway camp. Jocelyn Benson made some of her closest friendships at sleepaway camp while hiking, climbing the ropes course, and cheering for teammates during color war. She lived in a bunk with other campers, chatted late into the night, ghost stories, and made plans to see them once camp ended. The other thing she did, mingled with fellow campers who drank wine and cocktails and stayed up until 1:30 in the morning. Because Jocelyn Benson, was, after all, 29 years old, and she can stay up as long as she wants. She attended Camp Social, a 3-day overnight camp for women in Pennsylvania's Pocono Mountains. And Jocelyn is planning on coming back. I built Camp Social for the adult friendship gap, said Liv Schreiber, no relation to the actor, who lives in New York and founded the camp in 2023. I created what I wished existed. We're expected to figure out friendships without a blueprint, and Camp Social is that blueprint. Adult friendship gap. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Don't be shy. Tell us your adult sleepaway camp stories or opine on this concept as you see fit. It's not the only one. Camp Social joins a number of grown-up sleepaway camps such as Club Getaway, Camp, Camp No Counselors, all have seen a surge in new campers in recent years. Demand was big enough at Camp Social, which hosts 400 female campers per session, that they added a second session in September. Interestingly, it used to be these sleepaway camps, as I understand it, were friend groups who would come, and then, strength in numbers, come with a few friends so that you can make more friends, ostensibly. I don't know why there's this burning desire to make all these friends. But now, according to Camp Social's founder, 92% of the attendees come alone. So these are, it's a female camp, but I don't know. These are isolated females, incels, and I don't know. Probably some of these people that go on these retreats to scream about men in the forest and so forth, wear pea hats in protest of Trump. I'm guessing. I don't know. At Camp Social, campers create their own schedules from a buffet of traditional activities, including boating, archery, ropes course, bracelet making, water sport, tie-dye, and tennis. Boy, this is also a Why Dan Proft is single story. At Camp Social, creating chemistry is everything. Campers are divided by age, and the age ranges are, get ready for it, from your 20s to your 60s. You sleep in bunks of 8 to 10. You have a trained counselor. Can you imagine being in your 50s or 60s and you have like a camp counselor? But your trained counselor serves as a bonding facilitator. They're even tasked with coming up with a bunk cheer. I think Shutter Films could do something interesting with this setup. During the day, campers create their own schedules from a buffet of traditional activities I mentioned. But there are adult embellishments too. Paint and sip in a mixology class. How daring. Now, it is actually fairly affordable. $883.51 for 2 nights and 3 days at Club Getaway. This is at Camp Social. Club Getaway. $883 at Camp Social for the ladies for 2 nights and 3 days. That's, it's relatively affordable, although one of the ways it's affordable is they have sponsors. A Dunkin' Donuts is a sponsor. LaCroix Beverages is a sponsor. Maybe Midol should be a sponsor. Anyway, so that's one of the ways they defray the cost to make it affordable. Maddie Martino is 29 years old. She's director of an indoor sports facility in Chicago. She signed up for Camp Social. I play games I haven't played in 15 plus years. Well, there's probably a reason for that. There at night, there's a cookout. Icebreakers include charades and a dance party. Then there's a high ropes course. She hiked, she kayaked, she paddleboarded. I feel lighter and more worry-free. It reminded me to step away from the hustle and bustle of work life. Office manager from Dover, New Hampshire, attends another camp called Camp. That's a week-long overnight camp for LGBTQ people in Maine. Camp, the LGBTQ people, the camp for LGBTQ people in Maine has a 75% return rate. Nearly 40% have attended for more than 5 years. The office manager from Dover, New Hampshire, who goes, said it's like a big old family reunion every summer. There's new people every year that revive and bring extra energy. I don't know. I at this stage of my life, I think I'm more interested in pruning my friend circle, not expanding it. It's certainly not going to these lengths. But that's me, and I'm a bit of a recluse and a contrarian and an iconoclast and a hermit. James in Naples, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. Having just returned from Ireland, it doesn't sound too dissimilar from a guy's golf trip, except for people that don't have friends. And given the expense, if we can get a sponsorship, it's the only way I'll ever be able to go back. So it may be a pretty good deal.
You mean, sponsors to go not to Camp Social, but or
no,
to go back to Ireland.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, age-appropriate sponsors that you could, the sponsoring entity could feel like they're getting value. I don't know. Comparing this to a golf trip. No, I don't sense the same. It certainly hasn't been my experience. Maybe for some. This is like there's a certain infantilization feel to these camps as I'm reading about them. Aren't you getting that? I do notice though that it's for like identitarian, and there's an identitarian component to it. It's all female, all LGBTQ. No camps for the 25 to 65 hetero honky males. Rick in Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning. Hearing that story, that tells, because these are the 20-somethings, the 30s, and 40-somethings, they obviously have kids that are in school, high school, which explains why the schools allow transsexual storybook hour in girls' and boys' locker rooms and vice versa. And the parents sit there twiddling their thumbs because they're kids, they're infants, and they don't stand up for nothing.
Well, it's just sort of, part of this is just sort of weird to me. Like you have to, if you want to go hiking or you want to do any of these activities, they're certainly accessible and they're not particularly expensive. And then like 92% of these women are coming to this camp in Pennsylvania flying solo. I mean, there's no social. I mean, the one is like, what did she said? She's an indoor director of an indoor sports facility in Chicago. And there are no social outlets or opportunities for her to make friends with between her work and her in the environment in which she lives. I mean, it just seems strange, doesn't it?
It's like society meltdown.
Yeah. I mean, there's an atomization thing going on, but this is sort of next level to me. Thanks for the call, Rick. Frank in at the Board of Trade.
Maybe a better idea, as opposed to, shelling out $800, maybe give them a different work experience whereby, assign them to like a landscaping work crew. They can go out and lay a little sod, cut a little grass.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody's going to be, paying for the experience of like dirty jobs, but you pay for the experience of being chaperoned by Mike Rowe as you go from one dirty job to the other. I don't know. You might get more value from that experience than reliving your misspent youth, applying your skill at archery or something like that. I don't know. It's just strange. It's strange to me. And the thing with like a golf trip or something like that, there's purpose behind it. I mean, it's a shared experiential thing. There's a camaraderie piece to it, of course, but I don't know. These adult sleepaway camps strike me as, for the sort of the underdeveloped socio-emotionally. But that's me. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. You can go to any camp you want. It's just an interesting phenomenon.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Whew, that shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. Or simply visit godra.com.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. You probably know I help business owners fight back against the IRS, but did you know I can help with state taxes too? Right now, Illinois is about to open a rare tax amnesty program. For a short window of time, you can pay certain back taxes and have the state wipe out the penalties and interest, no strings attached. But here's the thing. Once that window closes, the chance to save is gone. The Illinois Department of Revenue will announce the exact start date and requirements any day now. When they do, the clock will start ticking. Go to fightbacknow.com and sign up for my daily email. I'll give you clear updates the moment news breaks, walk you through exactly what you need to do, and help you avoid mistakes that can cost you thousands. Don't get caught off guard. When the state offers a deal like this, you have to move quickly. Go now to fightbacknow.com and get on the list, because when the clock runs out, so does your opportunity to wipe out those extra charges and save big. That's fightbacknow.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. A lot of good comments on culture in response to the adult sleepaway camps we were just discussing. Text from 708. There's been a decline in church and attendance, especially among those in their late 20s and 30s. I think every close friend I have, I met at church or at a church function or something like that. Parishes, Catholic obviously, used to be the social fabric of many communities. Yeah, parishes and churches generally. Yeah, that's a good point. Text from 815. These are the people who grew up with the smartphone in high school and college, and they lost or never developed the soft skills of making friendships in person. I actually applaud them with trying, but acknowledge it is really sad. Text from 847. What about the AM 560 camp? When are we going? I don't know if we're going to do a sleepaway summer camp for AM 560 listeners, although, yeah, it's something to take under consideration, sure. As long as I'm not compelled to participate. One camping excursion that will be different now is going to Yosemite, and perhaps you'd like to experience El Capitan. Perhaps you'd like to free climb it. Maybe just look at it. Anyway, a national park ranger who identifies as non-binary has been removed from her position. She identifies as non-binary, but she's a she. And she's not happy about it. I want my rights and I want my career back. Well, she participated in this politicization of El Capitan, as it were. She was part of a group that posted a trans flag on the side of El Capitan to celebrate LGBTQIA2S blah, 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 blah rights. And, this was in conjunction with this flamboyant dude who pretends to be a woman and is always dolled up in a park ranger suit, who goes by the stage name Patagonia. This was Patagonia's commentary when this little stunt was done at El Capitan.
Some carry hate. We carry the largest trans pride flag to ever be flown in a national park and unfurled it on the side of El Cap to prove a point, that trans is natural. The Trump administration and transphobes would love to have you believe that being trans is unnatural, but species that can transition sexes can be found on every continent and in every ocean on planet Earth. So call it a protest, call it a celebration. We are bringing elevation to liberation. Ooh, they try to erase us from government websites and education systems and libraries. So we raise this flag higher than ever before, so every trans person knows that they have people that love them in their corner. The people united will never be defeated.
Was elevation to their liberation. Nice rhyming scheme. It was Jesse Jackson Sr. quality. Yeah, well, Shannon Jocelyn's still out of a job for participating in that stunt. By the way, that Patagonia, the purveyor of tolerance and inclusion and love and all of those wonderful things, this was Patagonia, I should say, closing out the Pride event in Denver this past summer.
And dear Trump, because we know you're going to listen to this later, we have a little message for you. Because the muzzle doesn't work on us, bitch. Climate change is real. Pride is a protest. Protect the dolls. Black lives still matter. No one is illegal on stolen land. And free Palestine. fascist.
Yeah, like a walking Hinsdale yard sign, that Patagonia. Take a calls quick on this. Franklin McHenry, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Dan, you left out one of the most important activities there, where everybody stands around in their birthday suit and they play Guess My Gender.
Yeah, I didn't see that on the rundown, but it's possible. Thanks for the call, Franklin. Dennis, oh boy. Dennis in Crystal Lake.
Hey, Dan, say hey to Amy. I might not miss her that much, but I miss her.
Okay.
But I want to go. I want to go there as a trans person, and within the first day, if I'm not getting laid, I'm going in my tent, hanging my LGBT flag upside down for a distress signal, and breaking out every Playboy and hustler I've collected in 40 years.
Okay. Camp Social and other camps, Camp and every other camp on the East Coast has been warned about Dennis and Crystal Lake, so take the necessary evasive actions. Something else, too, you don't necessarily have to go off to camp. You can just go over to the Pacific Northwest. Maybe after stopping by El Capitan, you go up to Washington State and visit the Seattle, the former home of the Summer of Love, you recall. Maybe tour the Autonomous Zone. And you can also go to Perv Park. It used to be called Denny Blaine Park. Now it's devolved into Perv Park. It sounds like Franklin and Franklin from McHenry, Dennis from Crystal Lake both may enjoy this excursion. Seattle officials have installed the public masturbation deterrent infrastructure. Yeah, you heard me right, and that is a quote. Public masturbation deterrent infrastructure at Denny Blaine Park. The city previously said wasn't seriously being considered, but now it's not only being considered, it's done. What's going on at this park? Why would you need public masturbation deterrent infrastructure? I'm so glad you asked. Because there are clothing optional and clothing required zones at Denny Blaine Park, also known as Perv Park. And you'll be surprised to learn that the clothing optional zones have included some activity from some of those taking advantage of the clothing optional zones that people find a bit impolite, maybe even bordering on the lewd. Waterfront Park, other people trying to enjoy the waterfront, and then, you got somebody punching the Pope next to you. The city crews erected the chain link fence top with green mesh along the park's eastern section, creating the aforesaid, and let me quote again, this is a technical term for you village planners out there, you'll know this, public masturbation deterrent infrastructure. And that actually was mentioned in the RFP for access improvements and plan for Denny Blaine Park. This is to shield the clothing optional zone near the lake from view and curb the visibility of perverts having sex or masturbating in public. There's maybe it's not sleepaway. It's a public park, so there's limited expense. So definitely a bonding opportunity for folks in their 20s and 30s, comfortable enough in their own bodies to go clothing optional. Perv Park in Seattle. Okay. Nice to end on that enlightened note, isn't it? Thanks for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. We'll be back tomorrow. Hope you will be too. It is now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
They're ready to do what Democrats wouldn't let them. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Now that those lawmakers who left the state to block a congressional redistricting are back at the Capitol, the Republican-led Texas House plans to vote today on the new maps that could give Republicans 5 more House seats in next year's told legislature may approve tomorrow to set up a special election in November, asking voters to approve new districts to give Democrats 5 more House seats in the next Congress. While National Guard troops patrol D.C. streets in President Trump's crime crackdown, there's a federal investigation into Washington's crime statistics.
2 sources briefed on the matter tell Fox D.C. police statistics show violent crime down 26% from last year, but members of the Trump administration, the DOJ, and others dispute those numbers and point to reports of a D.C. police detective who was put on leave earlier this year pending an investigation into potentially fudging some numbers.
Fox's David Spunt. In the ongoing push for peace in Ukraine, the U.S. is leading a meeting of NATO military leaders today discussing a possible security guarantee that could be part of a peace agreement, though Russia is pushing back on that.